Okay, wonderful. Okay, everybody, so, today, Monday, August 5th, 2024, at 2:31 PM, I'm calling to order the Parks, Property and Streets Committee meeting of Village of Sister Bay. Janelle, would you mind taking roll call Olson,
here?
Bertle. Here. Orozco.
Here.
Aaron's.
Here.
And Laskowitz.
Here.
Let me just say briefly, we welcome Mike to the committee. I think everybody on the committee knows Mike, and for the audience's benefit, this is Mike's first meeting. Okay, as far as the agenda for today's meeting, could I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. The agenda from July 8th, 2024. Any corrections, additions, edits, anything for that? Okay, a motion to approve, please.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, up next, we have, do we have any comments, correspondence, or concerns from the public, either in person or online? Go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
No comments. Hi, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brian Apollo. I'm a member of, resident of Liberty Grove, and I've been a member of this community since 2004. I know the group has been working for several years to improve the TKH ice rink, and I'd like to thank the village thus far for the support. When I first moved up here as a young teenager in high school, I didn't know anyone, and I got my first real sense of what this community can bring through the TKH ice rink. Back then, you could find me almost every night after school and all day on the kids. If I wasn't playing hockey or football, I was most certainly volunteering my time, either shoveling the rink or flooding the ice rink. Unfortunately, over the last few years, Mother Nature has not allowed us the opportunity to keep the rink open consistently. And now as a parent of two young children, let me tell you that it is tough to find a place to take them in the winter and kind of shake off that cabin fever. I feel that it's crucial to provide a place for all the young families in this community to play and take part in healthy outdoor activity, and to show that we as a community value our local youth as much as we value our visitors. I know that myself and a lot of people are excited for the potential of a winter centerpiece in Sister Bay, and that can be consistently open November through March. I'd like to thank you again for the efforts thus far and encourage you to commit the funding toward this project so that the committee can move forward with their fundraising and help us build a new ice rink in the near future.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Ryan Wapala.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments, questions, anything? Yes, sir.
I have similar comments as Ryan. My name is Ty Johnson, for those of you that don't know. I have been a resident here my entire life. I was born and raised up here. And around age 7 is when I started playing hockey down at the ice rink. It's where I learned how to skate, do all that. And without the ice rink, I don't think I would have had nearly as much of an enjoyable childhood. And like he said, in the previous few years, Mother Nature's kind of restricted us on being open. And so I would just like to voice my opinion on how important it is to be able to have those opportunities for local kids and also parents in the wintertime. And just kind of hope to be able to open up the rink again, have a full season maybe, and just get some kids out on the ice and get the next generation playing. A little bit of hockey, a little bit of broom ball, anything like that. I just think it would be a big improvement to the community to just have that very crucial piece again. Like I said before, I agree with everything you said, and I kind of hope you guys take that into consideration.
Thank you. Are you Dave's son?
I am.
Well, we miss Dave behind the bar in Sister Bay.
Many people
do. Although it was nice to have him at the bowl this summer,
Oh, yeah.
briefly. Okay, anyone else?
I'll add on to this. I'm not here today to voice my concerns on the ice rink, but I grew up at the ice rink like Ryan and like Ty.
Ben, who are you?
Ben
And
Fitzgerald, sorry.
that's all right.
I remember seeing Ryan working at the rink with your old dog when I was little there all the time, and Ty every day for like 3 years in the winter. So I know how much this rink means to them. Means a lot to me too. I did not spend as much time as them there, but getting close to wrapping up college here, and when I think about where I'd like to live next, and I know a lot of people think about the winters here and how hard it is to make it through the winter sometimes. The ice rink is a big thing, it's a place for us to go, get outside, exercise, meet people, and yeah, I think it'd be awesome if the town could commit a little bit more to it in the future.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, anybody else? Denise Burda.
For those who may not know, this committee, a month ago at our meeting, put forward a request to the finance committee for the budgeting purposes of next year's budget, on that $500,000. So it's in the pipeline, the finance and the board, once they get to it, we'll have to make a determination, but this committee was, 100% behind that funding.
Thank you very much.
I just want to make a quick comment, like Denise said, this committee has been, working on getting that pushed forward, and just to everyone in general, I just like to see, like, for everyone to see how much this project means to our local community. There's always comments about, oh, we're just, catering to the visitors or whatever, but we are doing things for our locals, and I know there have been comments about, you can't justify spending so much on such a project, or even the ice rink, there's been comments about, but I just like to see young people speak up and say, we're here and we're happy that this is, happening for us, for a younger generation, or for all ages, not just the young people. But, and I've heard comments from many, many people how happy they are that this is moving forward. And it's not just a Sister Bay effort, it's, a community-wide effort, because the people on that committee don't all live in Sister Bay, and they're working, I know they're gonna be working to fundraise to get that project done. But yeah, I just want to point out how much it does mean to our local community. We're trying to push this forward.
And one other thing too, you two, three, could join a village committee at any time if you'd like, as you get older, or even now. We need people like you, and we do, and you're a stakeholder, if there's ever a stakeholder. And you're the future, so if it's not now, it could be later, but attending even via Zoom, meetings like this, or the village board meeting, or plan commission meeting, those are 3 meetings where things happen. And where you can comment, and where committee members can listen and hear. Otherwise, it's often commented that, people aren't listening, but, if no one's here to help them listen, it's, there's that part of it, so consider that. Okay, anybody else? All right, we will go to item 6A, Century Bike Ride request to close portion of Mill Road. I had requested that this be put on the agenda. Having said that, I'm gonna recuse myself because I do work, do some work for the Pacers. So I'm gonna recuse myself and let, Ben walk you through what the request looks like. I think you guys have some handouts.
If I come forward, do I remain?
You can stand up and come forward, sure.
Yeah, so I handed these out, these run. And when you guys entered today, I'm Ben Fitzgerald, I introduced myself earlier. This is for, I should have put a date on it, and it's September 14th, the Peninsula Century Fall Challenge Bike Ride. We host it annually in Sister Bay, I believe it's been here for around 10 years now. As you all know, there was a new project done, in the parking lot, next to the waterfront park in Sister Bay, where we hold our finish each year. So this is our proposed plan to host the finish this year. We're not able to lay it out how we did in the past, because of the raised parking spaces now in front of the waterfront property. And there's the curve that comes out, in front of what is that, the exit from the Wild Tomato Post Office parking lot. So for this, you can see at the top, the time frames for the closure. It moves through the day, 5 a.m. to 6:30, 6:30 to 3 p.m., then 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. By 5 p.m., everything will be open.
What's the date?
September 14th, Saturday.
Ben, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does your group then get out there and close the road in this area, or they rope it off?
Yeah, so we would work with, we work with medical and Sister Ray Fire and Parks and Properties each year to close off the roads. We have barricades, so we're able to place those. We have signage, we replace the signage ourselves. And then any signage we need to put out the week before to notify residents or visitors of the closure, we would work with the town and then our own signage to do that.
Okay, so it's not like our parks department.
No,
is
so
expected
yeah,
to be able-
we have volunteers and we would have people manning the intersections. If anything, we would ask for a reservist or something to be at the intersection of the highway and Mill Road. But other than that, yeah, volunteers that come to work the event.
And then notifying the people that live on the businesses and people that live there. Did you just say you would notify them?
Yep, so we would reach out to Zeke's and Coco's immediately after this, within the next couple days. Cause they're the businesses right bordering Mill Road in front of the waterfront property. And then I have an email out to the postmaster at the moment. I'm waiting for a response there to okay that we can, or they're able to maintain their hours and then whatever they need to do for operations with the post office. That Saturday, while having vehicles exit in between the post office and Wild Tomato. And then yes, for reaching out to the condos, they're still all accessible from, it's at Bluffside and then Maple. So through traffic, still able to access all the properties there the entire day. So anything behind that Grassy's or the parking lot behind Grassy's is accessible, it's just not accessible from Mill Road westbound.
I do know when we closed Mill Road off, it was more than just those businesses in that immediate area that were like, why didn't we get notice? So I
Yeah,
think you have to send everybody
Yep.
on that stretch of Mill Road.
so everyone, the stretch of Mill
Starting
Road,
from Grassy's and then all the way to Bluffside, I think, or Maple.
okay. So anyone that would have parking impacted by
Yeah, so from like Grassy's to Chad Donko's property
it. Okay,
and then the condos. And if you need help with contacts or anything, we have those, we can help you with.
where's Jack and Uncle's property?
I'm sorry, it's this one right here. I believe that's it.
Okay,
So it's basically that whole stretch.
so anyone, yes, I mean, we could do everyone from Bluffside and Maple down.
And then do you have specific signage for that Wild Tomato post office entrance that you're turning into an exit? To make sure people don't go backwards?
We don't have specific signage yet.
Okay. Yeah, cause that's like the biggest impact is that is always the other way and not.
Yeah. And I don't, do you have signage you use for the Fall Fest reroute there?
Well, I don't, if they close all the way up at the top of the hill, where,
We flip the sign around. We flip the sign around.
Yeah.
The one way.
So
And that's something that we could.
where, the way that the map shows the closure throughout the day, I am most concerned about how we're going to try to redirect people that come into the post office entrance and then have to turn around and go back out where we don't allow that.
right?
Mhm.
Ben, I think your
Yeah.
map is maybe incorrect in the fact that they're gonna exit. There should be a red line right here.
Because I
I
can't
don't think
approve
this
it
is this,
and creating
That,
that mess and congestion.
So
Where are you looking specifically, Denise?
Oh, I see that.
these red arrows, the way I see it, maybe I misread.
Yeah,
This
I don't
image
think
when
this
I-
can be
Okay,
closed
but
off at
because
all.
this is the exit point in between Wild Tomato and the
Yeah.
post office.
Yep. And that's only supposed to be a one way the other way.
But is that what you reroute for Fall Fest?
it is.
It is?
Yeah, we just put
Okay.
the sign up and reroute.
I flipped this. So is that something we could do?
Just
again?
this here.
It's
That we
it's
can't
definitely,
come
yeah,
back out.
it's definitely doable.
So you're
It's up
gonna
the
Try to
committee if they want
filter
to.
all that traffic
Mhm.
on a
Yeah,
Saturday.
barricade them off,
Backwards through.
yeah.
I mean,
Make it
Fall
close.
Fest.
Okay, same exactly.
Yeah. And you would.
The road is closed.
You guys, we have to keep it to one conversation, you guys, okay? So, Ben, why don't you go ahead and just add what you had to say, and then Denise had some comments.
Okay. Yeah, so what we were talking about was adding, I mean, instead of even flipping the sign, we could have a sign that could be printed and put over that to reverse that. But that, I guess, is aside. No, it's whatever Denise wants to add.
Can I make a comment? When normally for Fall Fest, when we flip the sign and maybe about like a week prior or so, we put some signage, some printed signage inside the post office. So people have a little bit of a heads up that that's gonna be changed. So that's something too, you can probably kind of
Yeah.
get some, like a poster size or printed outs kind of
Yeah.
inside, the post office too, just, prior to the event and then the sign gets flipped.
Definitely, yeah.
So
But-
Ben, you're the leader of this cycling group, is that why?
I'm not the leader, I'm here on behalf of the event. this
Okay.
week. I've worked it since I was 14 years old and I helped,
So you're familiar with it,
yes.
and so has anyone talked to the owner of Wild Tomato?
Wild Tomato, we have not.
Yeah, or, so the two, I think the point that was made is the two biggest impacts
Mhm.
would be the post office and Wild Tomato as businesses, and then to Denise's point, just the general traffic and the disruption it could cause the town, Sister Bay. So it seems like, I don't know the answer to the routing, I'd leave that to an expert, but I would suggest that maybe as soon as you can, you do talk to the
Yeah.
postmaster and to the Wild Tomato folks, hopefully get them on board.
Yeah, I have an email sent out to the postmaster right now, it's something I could go in there tomorrow. And check with them on that and then reach out to Wild Tomato immediately.
And they'll feel part, maybe, you hope they both feel part of the
Mhm.
process.
But even if it was okay with them. But
Yeah, I
During-
agree. I
during
mean,
the
if it's not
height-
okay with us, I get it. I'm
Right.
just saying that was my point. That's another item.
And Fall Fest, the road is closed on Saturday and part of Sunday at the height of everything. I realize it's also probably closed, this particular stretch is also closed on Friday because of the vendor setup and everything else like that. But
So Ben,
my vote is no for that section.
this start, finish, that's where all the bikers come in
Yeah.
the morning.
So in the past, we've operated with that parking lot open. And it's something we could still do again, but we have riders finishing straight in there along Mill Road, so right in front of what that stop sign is, pulling out of the parking lot. And then we also, a lot of the riders stay in Sister Bay, they stay close, they bike to the start, so then they bike home when they're done. And they also bike out that way. There'll be vehicles exiting the parking lot, our riders typically fill up that parking lot behind Grassie's by 6:30. But that's the most congested area, it feels like, during the entire course of the day is where that parking lot exit is. So I guess we can still have vehicles pulling out there and we've made it work in the past, we can again, but we just wanted to relieve that congestion if we could.
I mean, I think it'd be best if we could just have cars pulling out there, cause if you're trying to relieve congestion there, it's gonna get more congested over here anyway.
And
Well, with that post office, well.
as another exit point, yeah.
So, I mean, if we could just barricade up to here and still have vehicles pull out of
Mhm.
there, I think that would be the best. Way to go.
Lily, are you saying like, keep this all open and then just
Yeah,
make it so
so-
they go this way? So just shut this part of the lot off?
Well,
and
this
that-
is open, it looks like.
Yeah, this,
So
but,
they could just keep that
Yeah.
open, so the cars can pull out here and then just barricade this off.
yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Mhm.
If that's.
Yeah, that's something, that was one of our backups.
And is that what you've done in the past?
That's what we've done in the past, but in the past, we were able to have our rider just kind of tail off, right, so where that new curve comes out when you exit the lot. They would just shoot off the road right there into the parking lot, we'd have a stand there, we just can't do it anymore.
When the race starts,
Yeah.
either way that you go, is there some traffic control to make sure when they all wheel out there?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're also all aware it's a ride, so they know they're entering live
Right,
traffic
yeah.
the moment they leave, and
How
they're
many
expected to
riders?
ask, 700, 700, 800.
Ben, I think, I know at least myself, we couldn't see what Lily was looking at, and we didn't, because we didn't get it electronically, we can't pull it on the screen. Can you maybe just draw it or go to each of
Yeah,
us
I
so we
can just
understand
go
so they
around.
can vote on it?
So what Lily's proposing is, instead of having this closed right
Just
here,
this
we
little
move this,
open.
Yeah.
this yellow line.
Close this off.
right here,
Yeah, I think.
and then this is
And then
erased,
just.
and this is left open all day, so vehicles
Cars are going
exit
through
here,
and
but
out. So
we
this
would
is the-
still ask to close,
That's it.
westbound traffic on Mill Road midway through the day.
Yeah.
Because if they enter here, they get to here, and it's already possible, we just want you there. There's no
You could
need to pull down
extend it
there.
already.
And then what about here?
End of the day, this is when we
About
open
traffic.
this lot back up, we open westbound
And this
traffic
would
again.
be.
This would
open
still
right
be,
there.
this would still be, yes, this would be open.
Okay, so everybody understands what he's saying, what they would do, yeah, no. Hang on just a second. So what they would do is from 5 AM to 6:30 AM, post office lane would remain open. At 6:30 AM? 5 AM to 6:30 AM, so that first map, post office lane remains open.
It could remain
Oh,
open
but I
the whole day.
Okay, so it would remain open the whole day.
Yeah.
And then from 6:30 AM to 3 PM, the north, or I'm sorry, the westbound lane of Mill Road between Bay Shore Drive and Waterfront Park would be closed.
The westbound lane of what?
I guess, is that westbound or north? No, it's westbound lane, westbound lane of Mill Road between Bay Shore Drive and the Waterfront Park would be closed. That makes sense, everybody?
Ben, can you look at this and
Yep.
point that out to me?
Yep.
So this is what I had envisioned, is that what you're saying, or?
Yeah. Yeah, so post office lane,
So this all would stay open all day,
and then
and what would you close this leg here?
that would close at about 6:30. We're gonna go at 6:30. We're estimating, because our riders park right here. This lot becomes full, so
That
we're
lot's full, so nobody
Yeah.
can, nobody can go anywhere back there.
Yeah,
and
we're
you
just putting
stuck with a car trying to turn.
a lot full sign at the end of Mill Road. It's their time pulling in.
And further congest bikers.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys wanna vote on that? What you wanna do with it?
What will we be voting on?
Yeah.
You would be, voting to allow,
Not close that piece of post office drive.
you would be voting to allow the waterfront parking area on the south side of the park to be closed,
Including Mill Road.
and and Mill Road, yeah, the parking lot and Mill Road. And then additionally, the westbound lane of Mill Road between Bay Shore Drive and the park be closed from 6:30 AM to 3 PM. With traffic control and neighbor notification, the responsibility of the event coordinator. So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
All those in favor, sign with an eye.
I-
Thank you, Denise. Okay, on
Thank
to,
you, Ben.
thanks, Ben. Okay, on to item 6B, which is the parks maintenance facility bids. And I think we have,
Mike, are you?
Mike online, right?
Yeah, were you able to connect?
Mike?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Mike. So, we did get the bids back on the parks maintenance building. McMahon actually did the bid tabulation, as you can see. The lowest bid was Alliance Construction at $3,275,000. The details are in the packet. what we would need, if you're okay with the recommendation to go with Alliance, would be a recommendation to the board.
So I'm familiar with MO and Zeiss. But not SMA. What does that stand for? What company?
Oh, SMA?
Yeah,
I don't know what that acronym is. Mike, do you know what the acronym stands for?
They're just called SMA Construction Services,
okay,
LLC, they're out of Green Bay.
okay. And I'm not familiar with Alliance. Janelle, do you have any recollection? Have we ever worked with Alliance before?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm familiar with Alliance.
Okay,
So when I worked at the Economic Development Corporation, Alliance was up here doing work. I know they've done like libraries and other government buildings down in or the Valley area. They do a lot of work in Wrightstown. Mike, do you have other familiarity or experience with them?
Personally, I've worked on providing them pricing for design. I believe Mark from Alliance is actually on the meeting. Mark Rukamp up there. Personally, I have not worked with them. This has been my first project with them, but our company has worked with them before.
I have another question, bear with me, I'm new.
Sure.
And that would be the 50,000, I understand this must be, you know, standard operating procedure, but would we expect that, we're gonna have to, that contingency is gonna have to kick in to cover winter conditions, or what do we think about that?
If we have a bad winter, I think so.
Bad winter meaning that,
Very cold. If it gets very
Right.
cold
so
and
because then they're starting later or they're finishing later?
Starting
Well,
later.
Starting later. When would you anticipate starting then? What's a good time? Like what optimum time we'd like to start? When would that be?
We had originally, depending upon board approval, I think we were originally targeting like the September 5th or so. But there is multiple, I wouldn't say projects on that site, but we have to move the post frame building, pour a foundation to put it on, start the excavation and all the grading and stuff of the site, and then begin the pour. So it depends on when the metal building is ordered and is shipped to be placed on the building. Because if it's enclosed and insulated, depending upon the weather, it may need to be temporary heated. I guess, Mark, if I'm missing anything, please jump in.
Yeah, this is Mark Rukamp with Alliance speaking. Yeah, and I kind of walked through this with Mike as well. And he's 100% correct. The way that we were looking at it is the sooner that the board made a determination and we can get the steel building package ordered and get mobilized and get started on site, the better chance we have of limiting the amount of winter conditions we run into on the front end. But all of it, yeah, once there's a contract award, then we would actually place the steel building order. And we really don't know the delivery date until that is physically ordered. So, but when you ask, Heidi, when you ask what would be the optimal date, if we completely wanted to alleviate not having any winter conditions at all, starting out of the gates in the spring would eliminate any winter conditions at all, because it would be obviously working in the right direction with the weather. But we would anticipate, no matter what, we would anticipate running into something, starting it in September.
Gotcha. And I think you just mentioned you don't know the lead time on a steel building package, right?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the steel building package, we would expect it to be somewhere around probably 12 to 14 weeks from the point that we order it, that it would be manufactured and then delivery hitting the site.
Which would put it in December right now, if we started September 5th.
But obviously there is a lot of work that gets done, like Mike was referencing, is there's demolition, there's site work, there's pouring that foundation and relocating that post frame building, getting the foundations in for the new building. All of that has to happen prior to that building showing up anyway.
Is this September as in next month or next year?
As in 2 weeks,
Or this year?
this
3 weeks, yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask, and I apologize if these are newbie questions, but, this committee makes a recommendation that goes to the board for approval.
Yeah.
Do we know how we're paying for this yet?
Yeah, so we took out a short-term loan, and now it's time to turn it into a long-term loan, so it's been in the CIP for 2 years, I think. Have a loan on it now, short-term, we're gonna convert that to a long-term loan to get a lower rate.
So wouldn't we want to wait till closer to the end of the year to get that loan when the interest rates come down? They could come down by as much as a point. That's a
Well,
lot of money.
so we work with Baird,
Yeah.
Investments, and what they do is they watch the rates for us. And they tell us now it's time to convert that short-term loan to the long-term, regardless it's a loan though, whether it's a short-term. or-
And what are they saying?
As far as the rates, I do not know what the rates
Yeah,
are
I
right
think
now.
they're gonna say, because I'm familiar with them too, that they're gonna be, they could be down as much as a point by the end of the year. So that's one thing. The second thing is, you know, I want to be a team player here. This is it's gonna happen. I can see that we're headed down this path. What do we tell our friends and neighbors? What's the benefit of this going to be to the taxpayers, the residents of Sister Bay? Will we have productivity? Is this gonna lower taxes? I mean, will they get better services? Everything that we spend money on, we have to be able to justify. How are we doing that here? What's the storyline that we're all gonna take out to our neighbors?
The justification in my mind, from somebody who's been around for a really long time, is that this was slated to happen more than 10 years ago. And money was being put away for a new maintenance building because the building that they're currently in is pretty much non-functional. We wanted to tear it down 15 years ago and it didn't happen. It's not functional. It's not, it costs us a lot in utilities because it was never meant for that. We were, putting money away, and I can't remember how much we had in that designated balance fund to build a new parks maintenance building. But then when the waterfront opportunity came along, the village board at that time depleted every single account with our cash on hand to pay for either property or the improvements to the beach. And so basically, my point is this is long overdue because we put the beach in front of a new maintenance building. And now
I know it's an old building. But did we do the modeling and if we calculated the energy savings, the efficiencies, the productivity? Are we able to go to our friends and neighbors and say, hey, this is gonna be a better building, it's gonna make the parks department maintenance more efficient? We had a huge increase in maintenance costs last year to this year. Is this gonna help prevent the reoccurrence of that? And I just think we should have a storyline because
Sure.
in addition to being on this board, we're the people that our neighbors are gonna ask about this, and I wanna be able to tell them that we're making a good decision.
Sure. So
well,
we
I'm sorry, Julie. Some people won't think it's ever a good decision. They don't want to see a parks maintenance building. They think staff should work in the administration building that they're working in now that's non-functional and cramped and not productive and no privacy, no security, etc. There are some people you will simply not convince, and it's our role as parks, with all the facts, with all the knowledge that we have, is to put in our 2 cents and move things onto the board for the board to decide.
I hear that, but I'm not hearing what the story is other than it's old and we wanted to do it a long time ago and now we're gonna do it. That's not good enough for a lot of people. I think we probably got a better story here is what I'm saying, Denise. I think we should
See,
just try and
I'm not big
articulate.
on trying to make up a story that.
Well, it isn't, the story is the facts. The
So-
financial impact, the impact on employees. There's a lot of good things that'll probably happen for this.
There
We
is.
all should be familiar with that and be able to articulate it to others. That's all I'm saying.
A lot of this we did talk about last year, when we actually approved going in depth for the buildings. That
Mhm.
happened a year ago at budget time. And the conversations were, it improves efficiency because instead of having them downtown fighting traffic, now they can actually be closer to where a majority of their work is. They still have to pick up a lot, but at least they're at the, right by the sports complex. So it saves on the efficiency, definitely saves on the energy bills.
See, I think, and you don't have to go through all the, I think you do know them. I
Yeah.
think there is a punch list. I think we should probably quantify it and be able to say, hey, look, this thing over the next 10 years is gonna save us some money. And ultimately will stabilize or bring your taxes down, so we don't have to raise them as high as we did last year.
And actually, we do have those numbers, which we reviewed in spring, which was by taking out the loan, we can show the earth taxes. I know it sounds weird, but we went through it again this last week. By taking out debt, we can actually reduce taxes. And it's hard for people to understand that without seeing the chart, but you're right. And, Mike, maybe we can work on, we could maybe work on a press release to address some of that. I know we did a lot of that last year. We could repeat it. Are you hearing that in the community now that people are concerned about that?
The thing, if you go back and look at the minutes of all of our meetings over the last year, I've been in them. I've been one of the people who have complained about what we did last year in November. And how we let the budget get out of control this year in terms of spending. Nobody wants to see that happen again. But I think we're at a spot with the community is if we kind of seize control and we kind of manage a little more prudently going forward, we can win back some of the people we've lost.
Sure.
But a lot of people are not happy about what's happened to their taxes and what they're seeing as somewhat uncontrolled spending, at least when they're not informed. If we don't tell them what we're doing and we keep building new buildings or spending money on things that they don't understand, those are our customers. They're the residents of the community.
Sure.
They have a right to know what's going on and they have a right to an opinion, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, we understand that. A lot of those conversations have happened here. And we understand the public doesn't attend these meetings, but we can do a press release when we announce the bid package, who was awarded the bid. And hit on some of those highlights. It's a good idea.
I mean, Alliance may be able to help by coming up with some of the benefits we could yield from an investment.
I like the idea of a press release because I like the idea of increasing communication to residents about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we don't do a lot of it. And, a press release is simply, so in this case, we're breaking ground for the Parks building. And this is what, if you're upfront and then you control the narrative, and controlling the narrative isn't telling, is telling the truth. It's not manipulating anything. These are the facts. This is what we're doing. And we're doing it now. This is why we're doing it. Here's what to expect. This is the timeline. And municipalities do it all the time. It's not bad, So, and I do like the idea, and I'm sure that Mike and Mark have heard this a few times and have probably worked with municipalities on helping them to craft a message about why this is, because this is what they do, and about how this will benefit. And the person that's gonna probably see the benefit or live the benefit more than anybody is Eric, who's sitting right here. He knows. And it's not about, a nicer place to work. It's about being more efficient, which is why typically you do anything like this. So I'm personally fine with sending a press release.
I like the idea of a press release too, and also just remind our community too, that a lot of these things that we've been working on in the last year, at least since I've been here, we've talked a lot about the long term. If we're gonna work
Right.
on a project, it's gonna cost us so much, it's because in the long, it's gonna save us money in the long
Yeah.
run, maybe. We need to think 10, 15, 20 years ahead, not just
Right.
what sounds good for the next 2 or 3, but we're
Yeah.
really trying to put effort, time, money, everything into these projects that are going to be good for the future in many years, not just.
Well, and to Denise's
Next.
point, we did the waterfront in 2006. Is that, no, 2000, when was it, 8, 9?
don't remember.
Whenever it was, our population, so we're 1,100 now, we were 900, right? And back then,
898.
okay, and back then, it was probably 600 or 700. We could go back and look at the census, right? And the goods and the services that you need to provide for your residents are, first of all, the demand, what they want is very different than it was in 10 or 15 years ago, understandably. But also just the pure number of people. So, and it's not sounding like justifying what we did. These are facts, and I think that Mike's right, that you present the facts, and this is what we need to do, what we needed to do.
And well, to that point, I mean, our population is growing and it's gonna continue to grow, so we also, obviously our parks crew and our utilities crew have a lot more work than they did 10, 20 years ago to try and keep up with everything that needs to be done. So, yeah, they're going to grow out of their space eventually because we're growing as a community, as a village, as a population, so we need to continue to grow and, help our team out and make sure that, like I said, in 5 years, we're not thinking, oh, we might need to rethink what we did, but we're actually trying to make this work for the next many years.
Okay, so we in agreement that that would be a good idea, and if 12 to 14 weeks from now, although they're gonna start to do some work that is gonna be evident, I'm assuming. I mean, Mark and Mike, the work you're gonna do between now and when the building arrives 12 to 14 weeks from now, is that gonna affect Autumn Court at all?
The one thing, I know Mike had to step out, I saw in the chat. And he might want to speak to this, or you might want to ask him when he steps back in, because he did mention to me when we talked last week about the possibility about a little bit of work that has to be done, like in the water main area in front of that parcel. But that's something that you'd have to probably ask Mike. Between now and then, between the buildings showing up, there's site work that's going to dramatically change the face of that site. That large post frame building would actually be raised and set aside temporarily while the concrete work is being poured for that being relocated. So that, and all of that happens prior to the new parks building structure showing up. So yeah, definitely.
But, when this all happens, that's a couple weeks away, so there's a sense of urgency in terms of, and then the lateral, that has, I don't, when would that
Skylar's
work?
engineering that one, and it just has to get approval from utility yet once it's completed. But that'd probably be in spring.
Not till next spring.
That's the one we talked about.
And
Yeah.
do you know which option he's engineering, Julie?
So when we had talked, I believe, I know the committee, we had concerns about the buildings, location of the building, squeezing it in there, so it would go around.
Okay, that's the one he's designed.
Yeah, like more through the wetland area.
Okay,
or
excellent.
Low area.
Okay.
Lily made me think of something. Is this building designed and the site designed in a way that it's expandable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
About by what percentage?
Oh,
10,
you could-
20?
It was 2 bays we had additional room for, I think.
Yeah, but what they did was they're leaving the whole end so that you could expand 100 feet if you had to.
And Alliance took that into consideration?
McMahon did in their
Or
design.
Yeah, we have the end wall frame is expandable, so it's gonna be a main frame metal light wall frame.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Mark, quick question for you.
Yes.
Do you or anybody in your staff, or would we go to Mike with any kind of some help or context in terms of crafting a message to our community about, what we think is a necessary and an exciting project?
With Scott and Mike's involvement from McMahon's side, and their vast experience on this end with the municipalities, I'm sure that they've got some bullet points that they could assist in working through. Not that I couldn't, that I couldn't embellish that. I could probably definitely do that, with my team. But the other thing I was thinking is this, you mentioned about a press release.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're meaning the same thing I'm thinking. If you're thinking of just a press release to something to get out in your local correspondence or paper, or village newsletter, that's one thing. The other thing that we could assist with is, and I'm thinking, why not? Would you be interested in maybe wanting to do a groundbreaking where you actually get some free publicity to this? And you could also look at it in the aspect of whether it's business, whether it's residents moving to the area, whether it's tourism, all of that, in putting the right positive spin on what you're looking to do with this, would all be a step in the right direction, rather than, kind of like you're alluding to, rather than hiding the idea, actually turning it the other way. And that would be free publicity from whatever stations would want to cover it, or whatever that would look like. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, whatever we did would just be, and it would also be reflected in the press release so that it's all kind of connected.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed, but
So McMahon did energy calculations, which we can go in there and show that and predict what the
Okay.
energy savings is.
all right,
So I can work with Mike on that.
so we should talk to Mike about other things. But from a timing standpoint, it sounds like it should be within the next month, because things are gonna start to,
You would have to coincide with the board's award.
After the
bid.
board, yeah, you're right, after the board meeting, okay.
When is the board meeting where this?
The 20th.
Right. Okay.
I got a question. If the board approves, how fast do I gotta be out of cold storage stuff?
Pretty fast there, Eric. We'd have to work with Alliance and see when they would need to move the building. I know it's bad timing. You have fall.
But you guys did start moving stuff already.
Well, we
right?
got all the summer stuff out,
Okay.
you know, my plan wasn't to bring it obviously back to cold storage, I was gonna bring it to the farm, but there's all the winter stuff.
Right.
Is still in there, so I would need at least some time to get all that winter stuff out.
what winter stuff is there?
It's all the decorations.
Yeah.
Decorations and odds and ends, like, building material stuff that's in there. It's gonna take some time,
Once we have the timeline, Eric, I'll let you know.
yeah, okay.
Mike, is your and McMahon's letter of recommendation to go with Alliance based solely on the low bid, or are there other factors?
We had a meeting with Mark and we went over various parts of the project. Did you have this? Did you pick up that? What do you think of that? And Mark pretty much answered everything that we needed to know, so we felt comfortable with recommending him.
Okay, it was vetted.
Yep.
Good question. So for approval, we would need a motion to recommend this, to award the bid to Alliance, forward that to the board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want to include in your motion the $50,000?
Do we need to?
You probably should.
No, I think
No,
that's a
that's-
finance
that's in
thing.
the-
That's
Yeah,
fine, that's
That's
okay.
budgeting. Then we can talk about that at our finance meeting tomorrow.
So then it's just the $3,275 when it ended that.
It would be the contract.
Yep,
It would
got
be
the
within-
contract, yep. Accept the bid and enter into a contract,
3275, correct.
okay, and then leave the
But
contingency
the
at
10% contingency,
What you see in here would actually go into the contract that we would be sending to the board to sign. So it includes the contingency,
yeah. And McMahon's design,
the
Or no.
performance bond. You require that. Yeah, I mean, it's all within budgets. We would include all of that into the contract and into the board's motion.
And then just, I'm
So
sorry.
I wouldn't put a dollar amount in there because we're forwarding the contract.
okay. So, what if I
That makes
just say, that the Parks, Property and Streets Committee recommends that the village board accept the bid that was received from Alliance Construction and Design for the new parks maintenance building and enter into a related contract. Okay,
So the fiscal budget 24, it won't have any impact because we've already borrowed the money, is that what you're saying? So we're already paying the debt service on this $3.8 million?
No, so it was a smaller, I don't know what the smaller loan was, but in our CIP, we already budgeted and taxed for the bill.
The whole 3.8? Or the percentage that we're spending this year? I would have thought that our budget and the tax impact would have been the amortization schedule for whatever this fiscal year is.
Right, so in the CIP, we budgeted for it as a $4 million project.
Yes,
And we calculated our taxes based on that.
based on the percentage by year that we would, the expense, the debt service by year.
Right.
Okay,
And then we did our pro forma
okay.
based on what that, along with all the other projects, would cost and what the impact would have on the taxpayer. And that's where we saw it actually go down.
Is that publicly available? Because I've not
It
been
is,
able
it's
to,
been at 2 meetings already,
but I mean, I've not been able to find it online. Maybe somebody could send it to me.
Sure, we just sent that to somebody, yeah, I think.
There's
the
no
last-
rush, no rush. I would just like to get a copy of it. Sure. Get it.
So is this loan 66? That will then turn into loan 67? That we talked about at the November meeting?
I don't know about loan numbers on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't look at them that way, I always, view it by the project title, but
Okay.
that sounds about right, cause I think we're paying off 58, we're just paid off 58.
I think there were 3 loans we paid off this year.
Okay, so, so I think we are on to next, item, correct?
Right,
Any more
did you have
comments?
a,
Was that motion okay how I had it written, or do you want to change it?
Can you say it again? I'm sorry.
Okay. That the Parks, Property and Streets Committee recommends that the village board accept the bid that was received from Alliance Construction and Design for the new parks maintenance building and enter into a related contract. Okay,
Is there a contract number you have to reference in the document or some indicator? No?
no, we don't.
Okay.
Well, there is a contract number, but.
But it's what's in our packet as
Yeah.
presented.
Yeah, and then they sent a follow-up letter for winter conditions and that's.
Is that all we need, Denise, for to trace it?
Okay, everybody all right? We good?
Vote or general?
Okay.
No. We voted.
Did we vote?
We
Yeah,
did
we
vote.
were, I think she was backtracking.
Oh, I.
She was
I seconded it.
backtracking on the, yeah, she was backtracking on the agenda item, yeah. Okay, we're on to agenda item 6C, which is administrative building design. So what is this?
Okay, so, Mike is coming up with some preliminary sketches for us for the admin building. And
Does
what
that
he did,
mean we should all move closer to the screen?
do you want to share your screen, Mike?
Mike
You
is
want
gonna
me-
share, we might wanna move up there too, but he started with the floor plans from the AIRS facility, project and then tweaked them, how he felt they should be tweaked. He also looked at the building design recommendations the Parks Committee had previously had, regarding maybe it looked like an old farmhouse or on those lines. And he's come up with some options. Ran into some design challenges, making it look like a farmhouse, I think, but Mike, why don't you take it over if you can, share your screen, and we'll go from there.
Sure, I'm getting a warning here. The sharing is not turned on. The host isn't allowing multiple presenters sharing for this meeting.
Just turning it on. right
Janelle
now.
has to turn it on.
Excellent.
Okay. So can you share now?
Should be seeing it.
Yep, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't, I never opened it, so I'm not gonna touch the button.
Recording in progress. Mike, can you remind me that the biggest problem was like.
It's very hard to hear you guys.
Mike, can you enlarge the screen?
Is that any better?
Can you make it any larger than that?
Like, can you see on your?
I can see it on my screen. Thank you.
I guess that's as big as it's gonna go.
So what you see here is basically a sketch. taking some of the stuff from the Ayers report and their sketches and some input from Julie and a lot of the stuff from like the ordinances and that. I don't have a exterior appearance completely hashed out. I have an idea. Julie and I kind of met and we played with it a little bit. So the design's still kind of wide open. What I was hoping to do today was just capture spaces and configurations on those spaces, what goes next to which. We don't like this, we like that. And try to get a floor plan kind of nailed down that could lead to the outside look of it. The building will look like what it will look like based on what's going on inside of it. Okay. So what you see here is a concept somewhat based on a farmhouse look, at least my interpretation of it.
Sorry.
So the center section would be your farmhouse 2-story, but it wouldn't be 2-story, it'd be one open story with what I was terming kind of like a summer kitchen. If you think about a farmhouse in Door County or pretty much anywhere in the state, they started out with the house and they added on to it. So this would be the admin wing. This would be the council wing. This would be circulation here. Restrooms would be in the back, and we'd have areas for electrical, plumbing, mechanical storage off the back too. Again, just a sketch, just a place to start with. Started tinkering around with different shapes. What if we staggered the building? What if we created a courtyard? Again, going back to the floor plan, how does the floor plan work with these shapes? So when Julie and I met briefly, we went through the admin end of the wing and kind of got her thoughts and tried to make this as efficient as possible. A little bit of elbow room, but mostly for function. So customers and citizens will come in the front door. They'll be into this 1.5-story space here through a vestibule and be able to talk to the admin, utility clerk, and village clerk through pass-through windows. Should they need to come in and sign anything, they'll be granted access about this far and no farther. There'll be another sliding window here for, writing checks or filling out this or that. Should someone want to come in and meet with Julie or finance or anybody else, there's a conference room right off of that. So general public, vendors, anybody stopping by doesn't get any further than right here. We have an office for a code official, finance, village administrator, election record storage plus village record storage. There will also be storage right behind the village clerk. And the center would be kind of a work area with storage. And then rather than a break room, try to get some efficiency and just have a galley kitchen, someplace that you could, warm up your lunch, maybe have a cafe table there, but not expand the building to have another room on it. Again, without anybody else's input, this is kind of my thoughts on it. These 2 gray boxes would be spaces to be determined for utilities once we have a floor plan to lock down. Furnaces, water heaters, electrical boxes, fire protection, stuff like that. Restrooms. And then we have the council chambers with seating for 180, which is something I wanted to talk to you all about to see if that's enough or too much. Council table, table storage, and a separate breakout for council to have, breakout sessions. So that's the general gist of the plan.
Can you go through the size of the restrooms? And I guess I just said the number of stalls.
Well, not the width, the number of stalls. Yeah, that's a placeholder for right now. Restrooms are determined upon the area that you have. Like for instance, if we have 180 people in here, that'll be the square footage divided by a number in the code, which will determine how many toilets we need for this area. This will have an area, this will have an area, this will have an area. So we may end up with another toilet. But three seemed reasonable for sketching purposes.
Is there I'm sorry, I missed it, and I don't have my glasses on. Is there a separate bathroom for staff?
No, we took it out.
Mike and I met, we were trying to figure out how to it looked like two long wings. And it looked like an institution, is what it ended up looking like. So we were like, okay, how can we shorten this building up? What's the worst case scenario? And I did tell him I thought that the restroom, as much as we like to be separate, so you're not confronted by 800 people. It was one area we could save space and money. Was by having one universal bathroom. Board members use it, staff uses it, the public uses it.
And the extra room for like when we would have to go into executive session, the table that's got 12 chairs around it, what's in the room above it?
That would be table storage, chair storage. I was thinking for multi-purpose for the elections, like you're not gonna want all the chairs up there to bring people in, because the thought was bring them in, have them vote, go right back out. We're gonna need a couple more doors in here anyway for exiting, but we need some place to put tables and chairs and to have this room be empty.
And then the clerk's tables are in there for the voting booths. We can
Yeah,
sell-
when we were talking about that, they're foldable. If I remember correctly, Julie, they weren't gonna be like 6-foot banquet tables, if I'm not mistaken. But we do have the opportunity to put election storage in here.
And where you were talking about, storage for of files and for, our clerk for voting, do we have any kind of truly secure vault storage?
So right now, the law requires that to be secure, and as you know, it's in that room across the hall in the fire station, which is often have other people in there, so it's truly not secure. It is required, and that's why Mike Druid is having a whole separate room just for the clerk.
No, I mean like fireproof.
Yeah, fire rated.
Oh, yeah, fire rate.
Yeah. So basically it'll be typically record storages are 1 hour rated. So it'll have a stud and gypboard cap on top of it. So it'll be one enclosed box that's rated for 1 hour. If you want to, we can make it 2. It's a couple layers of drywall, not a big deal.
Because this building will be sprinkled, obviously.
Yes, and that was one of my questions, is if we had city water out in the street.
Well, the sewer and
By
water.
the time we build it, we will.
Okay. Okay.
Goes to the corner, Mike, so it has to be extended with the project.
Okay.
Mike, what's the budget on this building?
There is no budget set yet until we get some more plans done. That was the whole, Mike, that's the whole purpose of doing this, was to get a floor plan, a look. And then part of our agreement is we're gonna provide the village with an opinion of probable cost on it.
Okay.
So Mike, what's the total square footage for the building?
As it sits right now, give me 1 second. And again, keep in mind, this is not set in stone.
There is a placeholder in the budget for it, I just can't remember the exact.
It's 4.2 million.
Not for this one.
It's not.
For admin?
Is it 2.5?
Oh, no,
Three.
3.1 then, sorry, 3.1.
Right now, it sits at about 7,800 square feet.
Okay, and then what's the square footage of the meeting room with the capacity of 180?
$2,150.
I do wanna say, Mike did look, because I know that the committee had wanted seating for 250, I think it was. So he had looked at that and it was getting really hard, but if you had to, you would be able to put chairs into the foyer. And open the doors, if you're back to that.
Standing room as well, too.
think now with the new community center / warming house. In my opinion, as that project continues to be discussed and moved forward, I don't think we need 180. I think we could, because I'm just looking, if we had all the tables and chairs set up here, 1, 2. You know, and I think 150 max. I think for sure 30 could be cut, or 2 rows, what I don't know.
I don't think we need more than 150. We never have that many people. When it was at a village hall, that we couldn't house more than 90 and we never filled it.
When
Ever.
at the Centennial, we filled it.
Once. The only other time we filled it was when Dollar Store was trying to come in here. We've never filled it. Once,
When we were in this room talking about the village hall.
once.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, it goes, so I know Mike, if you can reduce it, I think that'd be good, because I know it was a challenge trying to keep this from looking awkward. Because like I said, it did get very institutional looking. So if you can cut the number.
Could be
I
cut in
think
half.
better.
I think going back to what Vicky said, we had, when we started talking about the community center over by the ice rink, we did mention that we wouldn't need then such a large, meeting area in the admin offices if we're thinking about a community center.
Right, because if we had a big event, we could move over there.
And I think I don't know if the 120,000 for some reason.
Yeah, everything our file still showed it as 150. That's not etched in stone, that's why we're looking at it. So if we can get by, and I think it helps to see what 180 looks like, it's a lot, you know? So then when
Did you just remove 2 rows?
Yeah, this shows 145 people.
I think one of the advantages of what Mike has here though too, with the foyer and some AV equipment, you can expand to seat a lot more for a select occasion and still have them feel participated. I think you could almost even shrink it down a little more if we wanted to and still have the space we need.
I agree. I mean, the amount of times that we're gonna have 145 people in that room will be about 5 times a year.
Mike, do you have to put that wall in the back of that auditorium room? Why couldn't you just not put that wall in there?
I would think you guys want to be able to lock it down, but what we could do is we could put nano wall system, which is basically a glass wall that folds upon itself. So if you needed to open up, you know, depending upon how the columns fall here, you could open up the wall from here to here. Or we could put more doors in and have them wide open too.
You shouldn't have a solid wall there.
I really like that idea because it lets us shrink the overall space, but still have the flexibility for those rare meetings where it gets big.
Yeah.
And do we really need that atrium to be so big?
Well, we were just talking about the overflow for, they were saying they like it, because it was overflow for the.
Right.
meeting hall.
I don't know what the square footages of it, but.
Well, it also fits the bathrooms the way that they're drawn too.
Bathrooms are a little bit oversized. Now, again, going back to what I was working with before, trying to get some proportion. Right now, this is only 27, 28 feet wide compared to 45 on the side. And one of the things I'm trying to do here, guys, too, is I would like to see this get built out of wood to have the cost be down on it, rather than going with steel. The only steel I'm calling for is basically to frame out the cage around the box here, so we get the 2-story out of it. Trying to keep it wood to keep it a little bit more expensive, or a little inexpensive, I should say. But if I start squeezing this down, it starts looking really awkward, unless we go away from the traditional farmhouse look. Which, let's not go there just quite yet, because I think we're really rolling on the floor plan, which is great. But to go back to the original question, there's some fat that can be cut out of these bathrooms, because realistically, without them being too tight, you really only need 42 inches in front of the stall. So we could cut this out, but it's going to make it look skinny.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about that at this point, right now.
Let's circle back to the people counting here. Can we get down to 100?
Sure.
Okay, so-
What about 125 or somewhere around that?
Okay.
So Mike, if I'm guessing at the atrium, we filled half of it with chairs, that looks to be about 48 chairs?
One second. There's 127, and what I'd like to do is get this wing the same size as this wing. So it's a little bit more balanced. So let's see what happens here.
The other things that Mike and I talked about to save space was not have an actual dais where you're up high, like on a stage, but if you used screens around the room, you'd be able to save space. So that's how this was drawn, where those tables are basically at the same level.
Otherwise, you'd have to have the ramps that eat up all that space.
Well, that would be just fine, because I think it's presumptuous to have boards sitting up high.
Now, are those gonna be fixed?
It's so that everybody else in the audience, no matter if you're in the first row or the back row, can see you.
Yeah.
That's the only reason for height.
Are those tables where the council's members are gonna sit, are they gonna be affixed or will they move?
They could be either way. I just recently redid the Chilton City Hall and we did it built in. So this had all the AV and all the plugins for all the laptops and stuff like that right into this
I was
counter.
gonna say that's much better if it's not real expensive.
Well, they all should get that. I mean, it's 2024. How many does that room hold? How many does that seat children?
1 second, I can tell you. Oh, that's fire station. Let me show you real quick. That's police department. Oh, that's it. Ribbon cutting, maybe. We don't want video. So this is the mayor. And this is the seating we did behind him. You see the monitors up here?
Don't forget to share your screen.
Well, it should be.
Well, we're still seeing the building view.
There, now you seen it?
Nope. There you go.
Okay, sorry. So apparently Zoom, you have to share every time you put something up on. Okay. Anyway, Mayor Chilton, Village Administrator, this is the what I kind of used for the placeholder in your plan. Simple wall with some wood panel on it, and behind it, there's basically plugins and data ports and stuff like that for them. To go back to the question about put the floor plan back up there real quick. Okay. Back to how many people Chilton held. They also decreased it as well too, so. Because they had the same question, are we really gonna have that many people? And they're using theirs for voting as well.
I think you have to remember now with Zoom, we get, I think, more people participate electronically. So you don't need those traditionally sized rooms like you might have had in the past.
Yep.
Mike, what about,
Children.
Mike, I think the question was, how many does Chilton hold?
That's where I'm getting to. Yep. I'm just trying to find the plan here real quick. Oh, let's see. How did we do that? We busted this building up in like 4 parts because they wanted to bid 4 different ways. believe we did a code sheet for each area, each project per se. Here we go. So council room. 2, 3, 4, 16, 30. They planned for 32 there with room in the back.
Their population is 4,000.
Yeah. And they will also have another room too. If they need a breakout, I think it's at the library or one of the schools they were willing to use. So I think if I remember right, they went with their average attendance of like 32 to 40 at their meetings. But this whole room will hold 232, but they never get that many.
Hey, Mike, the other question I have, is when you look at the office section of this, the right-hand side, it looks kind of like an old school design where most, maybe municipalities are continuing to do a lot of offices and walls. But, you know, businesses are putting top executives in cubes right in the middle of the floor, adding a few conference rooms when they need private time, have employee discussions, but leaving very open, flexible space and not offices. Is that what, are municipalities doing that or not?
No, they're not. They're still doing the offices, so like the administrator or finance can close the door. Now, to your point, could they be in a cubicle or a breakout area? Sure. It's I guess like people are creatures of habit. It's
I mean, the theory behind the new designs from companies like Fora and others who design these things is that it leaves the space more flexible and it encourages employee engagement.
sure. But how many employees is Sister Bay gonna have?
I
At the scale here is if you had Ford and you had a 10,000 square foot first floor that had 300 people working in it, it'd be great to have rows of cubicles or open space in these concepts and that. This is a lot smaller. There's 6 people here.
But the smaller the work team, the more you want them talking to one another.
Sure.
Yeah, but when you go in there, listening to everybody else's conversation is a pain in the rear end.
Yeah, well, you
And
add
it's private conversation.
you add conference rooms for that, and it's change management, you're right.
But you're changing out the office from our conference rooms. So if you need to have probably 2 at best.
Right.
If
You
that's
need at least 2 conference rooms, probably, yeah, maybe more, I don't know.
Right, but like, I'll just use myself as an example, when I go in to talk to Julie about planning commission stuff. And she needs her computer in her office.
But it's gonna be Wi-Fi and you've got laptops, I mean, big businesses are doing this.
Yeah, so I used to be in commercial real estate as
Yeah.
well, and I mean, it's, there's a lot of places too are reverting back to some more office spaces. So if you look at, there's a lot of, at least when I too was leaving, and this was a couple years ago, if you look, open floor plan plans were kind of, then there's top executives, things like that, we're still going back. But they were either going back to their own individual offices, or they never wanted to leave them because of just the topics of conversation, they still wanted all their stuff. But, there's some interesting trends going back and forth, kind of still in that commercial real estate space, but.
So Mike, I see that you have that at 109. Does that make the wings the same size then?
Yep, they're both 48 by 45.
Consider 50.
Well, for fifth base. For fifth, if you're, oh, I see what you're saying. You mean 50 as much as like 40, it seats 50 people.
How much space is actually needed for like a loading room? You know, like if you base it off maybe like that, like how much room you need for all the loading, stalls, and then see how many chairs you can also fit in.
Well, the chairs would be removed for one.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, if, like, if,
This-
if you keep cutting out chairs or like seating, is there still gonna be enough room for voting? And how they set up, I guess that, there's like rules on how far things need to be apart.
How big are the voting booths? Do you
I
know?
don't know that answer.
How big are regular voting?
I know they're not huge.
No, they're big enough for a person to basically walk in.
Do we know what kind of spacing they have to be at?
I can check, let me see.
I don't know if there is one. I've seen where your arm, there's a divider and they just keep going.
It's almost just like shoulder width, like.
Yeah,
So how many, do you guys know how many booths you have?
I don't.
Okay, well, 4 booths, 30 by 30, 4 foot on center would basically take up 1 wall. So this would be a voting booth. So let's say hypothetically you come in, register, go vote, make your way back around and out. You could put up to, you could put 8 booth, you could have 8. You could put a whole line of them right here too.
We only have 4.
You only have 4? Okay, so they go up against 1 wall, or even if you did, put plenty of space between them.
There shall be 1 voting booth for every 200 electors who voted at the last general election. The booth shall have a surface on which to write or work and be sufficiently enclosed to assure privacy for the elector and anyone lawfully assisting the elector.
All right, that's 4.
Now, when the chairs are stacked up, there's plenty of room in there.
Okay, so I guess, any other ideas or changes to this floor plan, so, Mike can work on the design?
On the right-hand side, is there a reason we're using so much space for hallway? And that we couldn't slide the kitchen and that other area up against that solid wall and make it more productive space instead of half that space just being U hallway?
So what you're saying is put this up against here?
Other way, where there's a solid wall. North.
Up this way?
The limit, like, is there a reason we have that hallway there?
Yeah, because that way the village administrator can get right to the front end of the building. This is secured out, so basically anyone can walk around to get here, to get out. This is the only door from the hallway in.
So is that gonna be a secure entrance then, where we have
Yes.
to allow them entrance?
Yes, there'll be a buzzer. The plan's to put a buzzer on here so that the admin can control who can get in and out here. Staff will have a key fob.
But there, even if we move that, to the bottom, to eliminate that top hallway, then you're gonna have a very wide bottom hallway.
Well, I was just thinking we could rejigger it and use that space for something, but it sounds like there's a reason.
Because the offices look awful small to me. My office for running a stupid gas station is bigger than that. 10 feet by 16.
They were trying to save the taxpayer dollars.
I know, but we're gonna be in this building for a really long time. And I also think that you can make a room efficient and functional, but still too small, that people won't enjoy being in it.
Denise, that's why I really think we should look at fewer walls there in a more open environment. I'm telling you, if we do a little work, we'll find that the research says that that's a better work environment for employees. The walls are not great. Yeah, I know you need some privacy space with the conference rooms, but that is really an old style design, and I don't think it's gonna be great for the employees, especially.
You're gonna have 3 employees back there, Mike.
It's a lot of space for 3 employees.
Right, and Denise is saying that the offices are even too small as they are.
Yeah, again, I think it's an outdated design.
Well, how big are
I'll
the,
disagree with Mike.
Yeah, you can.
I'd like to see some flexibility, so if we put walls and, plaster walls in there, we have no flexibility once they're built.
how big are the cubicles, Mike?
8 by 8.
But again, flexibility would be nice. It does, to our earlier point, the way it looks now may not be the way that we need it to look, and I don't mean just for, the individual, just for the village clerk, the utility clerk, and the ad, and for admin. It would be good, it would be nice to have some flexibility, and there, I think, Mike, I could be wrong, but I think that, that's for walls, that kind of design is available. Maybe not, but.
So Mark, is there a spare office for future growth incorporated here?
You mean Mike?
No, there's not.
The code office.
Yeah.
Code office would be, yeah, if you don't have a code person right now, but.
Mike and I did talk about that. There is room to put 2 desks in one office if you had to, or give up the conference room if you had to. I know the AIRS draft had 2 extra offices in there, like one for the building inspector, and then like a workspace for like when the auditor comes. And I said to Mike, I said, look, the building inspector, he comes in, he picks stuff up, he doesn't really need a desk, let's be honest. And the auditor, they're working at a table, yeah, it'd be nice to have their own space, but the reality is they're there 2 times a year. So
They can do that, conference,
absolutely right. So why would you be putting in extra offices?
because we don't know what the future's gonna bring.
I agree, and that's why when Mike and I talked, we had talked about, with some of these, you can get 2 desks in if you ever had to. I know that's not ideal.
It would be easier to get it in there for wall perspective.
I guess how far do you, how much growth do you guys see? I mean, do you see adding in 10 years 2 more staff members? Do you see the village growing that much?
Maybe not 2, but 1.
One,
We're
okay.
trying to add a code person, and it went from full-time to part-time, and we can't get anyone to apply, so.
Yeah, they already have an office.
I mean, I really think it's remiss that we don't, I mean, we did that. We made sure we did that in the parks maintenance building.
And wastewater treatment plant too.
Right. So I think we need an extra space. And I don't know how much, space is committed to storage. I understand that there is a lot of it is digital, but we also have hard copies.
Well, the storage is one thing that he wanted to make sure he had a good room, because a lot of our storage is in the basement of public, or is at Public Works.
Right.
That's gonna go away, and it shouldn't be there anyway. It should be at the building, so Mike did look at that to make sure he had adequate storage space in here.
For that area that has writing surface, not really sure how frequently that would be used. I realize that it's also access. Good means, but anyway. I don't know if that could be used or no.
I know that when they built the new clinic here in Sister Bay, and there were, where all the nurses and the doctors are, and they're all in an open space. And most people hate it because they can hear everybody else's conversation, can't have private conversations. there's always somebody else talking in the background that's distracting.
I'll say right now, our current situation is terrible. I'm on a phone call, I hear, or I'm on a webinar, I'm hearing everybody else's conversations. People that come in, you don't wanna tell them, hey, please don't talk so loud, but they're the public, they come in, you can hear everything they're saying in the back. You hear every conversation. It's difficult for confidential conversations, and there are a lot of them, whether they're even employee or public ones.
You have to put some money, no matter what the design is, into a sound canceling ceiling, acoustic ceiling, and walls and floors. I mean, you've got to do that in any type of building. Mike, I'm assuming you kind of figured that in.
Well, we'll have to figure it in if we're gonna go with an open concept, but yeah, that's not out of the question.
Even without an open concept, you got to think about that.
Yes, it's gonna have, the original design had sound bat wall insulation in it. That's pretty typical for pretty much every office these days. So Mike, is that kind of what you were envisioning?
Are you asking this, Mike?
Yes, that Mike, yep.
Look, I'm not a designer. I would defer to the staff, but I'm just encouraging us to think about flexibility, to Denise's point, to think about the future. And to not box ourselves into a design that makes it difficult to get the work done and the team and engage employees and work together.
With the design Mike just drew, I know with the different plans that we looked at. I'll tell you with the one he just drew right now, the challenge with that is we go in those file rooms 10, 15 times a day. And that's why the file room was centrally located, because it is the most used room. You're on the phone, go grab a file. Somebody comes to the counter, you go grab a file. So that is why he had it in this plan the way he did.
Julie, I'm sorry, this is a legitimate question. I mean, don't you in the future see more of this stuff being digital and it'll be a server holding that data? Or is there some reason that we need to have the paper?
Yeah, you know what, I'll be honest with you, I think that's a long way off. And the reason why I say that is, so I've worked in 2 counties where we've digitized everything. It's an extremely long process to go through, and our staff, there's no time, I mean, you have to start by pulling all the staples out of all the documents. Our staff doesn't even have, there is nobody that can sit there for hours on end doing that. Even when you hire it out to be scanned, you have to prepare it before it can be scanned. So trust me, in a perfect world, I wish we were there.
But again, if we think about the future, 10 years from now, we're not gonna want the file cabinets in the middle of the building. Right?
Well, there's more than that. You also have all your board records and all that other stuff, supplies. In 10 years, I hope we are digitized. But I think there still will be a lot of stuff.
There's still always going to be paper.
There's all the archive materials. And the state doesn't allow all archives to be digitized. So you do have to keep some of those in a paper format.
So what was the room, because I can't read it, that's next to the administrator's office? Clerk's election records storage. Right.
I need to step out for 1 second, guys. Keep talking. Good conversation. Be right back.
I mean, I don't disagree that records in the middle of the room is. It's not that far to walk over to the corner to get them. versus-
Well, what if you would swap that little meeting room at the end? I worked in Egg Harbor and we had to go traipsing through the entire office to get records if the board wanted them. And they're like, what the heck is taking her so long? What if you put the records in that area where that little room is?
The conference room?
Yeah, flip flop them. Then you've got a direct access from that door to the meeting room.
I think Mike was trying to keep the conference room separate. He and I had a lot of conversations about, remember the name of it, I had training on it. But there's safety training where you make sure the public can't attack, you could say. Not that that's an issue here, you hope it never is, but they keep that in mind when they're designing buildings now. That way you can figure it out. Yes.
And it can help you with the sound issue too, because you can glass barrier, and if you do have a loud person, we come outside the sound barrier.
Yeah, and usually I know, I don't know about this, but usually there's glass on that little conference room. And people can see it, they're threatening you or escalating and somebody can step in or anything else. Again, we don't, since I've been here, there's only one person that I guess I was really afraid of. Who just barged past the front and just went back to the office. But other than that, so far it's not big.
Okay.
All right, so where do we need to go? What's the next step here?
Well, Mike said you should keep talking about alternatives till he gets back.
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Mike,
Basically, go ahead, sorry.
Say, how about if, we give more thought to adding another office in there to meet that request for more space? And then maybe come back with the design. I have to remind everybody, this isn't the design, you don't have a contract with Mike like you did last time. This was, if you remember right, that he was gonna come up with a conceptual drawing that we then that we put up to bid to have somebody design. We gotta watch how, so this time we use up.
Well, if we took that meeting room and made 50 seats there and 50 what's there, we could look at refiguring that or something else. We do not need.
Didn't quite hear all of that.
Don't need 125 seats,
125 seats, okay,
not need that.
okay.
When the meeting's over and I go home and I can look up all the municipalities and what their meeting rooms seat. And anybody that's, you know, more than 1,100 people that live in the community, it's just a waste of space.
Well, I think that's something the committee as a whole has to.
If you guys disagree, then we're just gonna be looking at a lot of empty seats.
Because previously they did want more, so if you want small, now's the time to let Mike know. See what the consensus of the committee is.
But if Mike wants to keep each wing the same size, then you're gonna have to shrink. the
Okay, but
office.
that's a good point. Okay, I think that kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about next real quick. Orientation here. How does everybody feel about this orientation compared to something different? Where this would allow the wings to be what they are. You know, say for instance, if we added an office to the administration wing and it got just a touch longer, not a big deal. If it was here, if this is something, if you may not like this concept, but we have balance on both sides of the entryway. And that's what I was trying to go for with that design. If the group likes something different, it may not matter.
A police officer just walked in, and I know they use an office here. Are we ever gonna need anything like that? Or will they always work out of this building? Or pop in? They don't really work out of here, but.
Well, I think it depends, you know, we had talked about contracting for services or partnering with Fishery. They may go to this building. It depends on the arrangement. This was right here is contract, and the common rent space.
So Mike, I'm sorry, I'm confused by what you're suggesting. When you reconfigure, are you talking about having, you know, the board sit instead of north, south, east, west? I don't know what you mean.
No, I apologize. I forgot that Zoom, you have to share the screen. So you should be seeing the elevations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the symmetry of the two wings, if this, and again, you guys may not like this, it's fine. But if the wings were the same with the center, it makes sense to have them be the same. But if we were to add space to admin for future, like say if we added an office and that wing got 8-10 feet longer, it'd look a little out of balance in this configuration. But if anyone was interested in some sort of stagger or something like that with a courtyard entry. Or we could also do something different with the center of it and have, you know, 2 farmhouses theoretically. I guess, does anyone,
So what that would get us is that one side, for lack of a better word, would be larger than the other, right?
yeah, we have more flexibility without looking imbalanced.
Okay.
Cause we could say, like, for instance, let's say we got rid of some, we got rid of room in the council end of it. So say it ended up shrinking like that. But on the same token, admin say, got to touch bigger.
I mean, it's worth looking at, I think, but.
I like the courtyard idea, but I also am a big proponent of the wraparound porch.
Okay, the wraparound porch is a great decoration. What would, outside of being decoration, what purpose would it serve?
In the way it looks, the way that it will fit the property, it will give people a protected outside space before, during, after any function that's going on there.
Okay.
I envisioned 1 or 2 old-fashioned porch swings somewhere. Cause I think you have an awful lot of windows. I didn't anticipate that many windows. For those reasons.
Okay.
Mike and I had talked about, you know, if you have a wraparound porch and the walkway, there'd be like heritage gardens, like the old, you know, when you think of a farmhouse from that period, there were certain type of vegetation that they had, right? There were certain flowers they used, and how that could be on the perimeter of the walkway into it and make it, although it can't, maybe it doesn't look exactly like an old farmhouse, it would still have the old farmhouse appeal or charm, and we have a porch, and then the landscaping that they traditionally had.
I'm just curious, how did we come about the decision that it should be a farmhouse style?
The previous Parks Committee had made that decision when they did that year.
And because of the Waterquist property and placing it on that parcel and keeping as many barn and as many other buildings there that it would fit in and create more of an authentic corner.
Our zoning code also requires the buildings to be compatible, so it was keeping in character, I guess, with that lot.
I think you would make it look like a farmhouse without a wraparound porch.
The reason I asked the question is maybe Mike's got an existing design that could save us some money that we could just copy. Rather than try and create something from scratch.
Well, everything that, the trend is modern. And it's not farmhouse. Not that saying farmhouse is wrong, but it's just the stuff that we do. Tends,
There's a lot of dormers, there's a lot of cost in this design.
Yep. Agreed.
Fairly gonna be dormers on this though, and it's illustrated right now. I know Mike was playing with different roof pitches. Whether there's 2 gables, how it would look. Mike, do you have that one picture you sent of the first, when you first started working on this, when you said, when you think of farmhouse, this is what you think of?
Yep. 1 second, I'm looking it up.
I thought it was modern, but there's not. I don't know if that's what they're going.
And you sent him the one I gave?
Yep, he has all of
Yep.
those.
I have it all.
We had an idea of the fight we were going for that property.
One of the reasons for farmhouse, Mike, was around village administration building is really where all the business of the village gets conducted, and it's the look and feel of it tells people about who we are as a village. So that was part of gearing the design towards the community, the roots, and not having something kind of modern.
Mhm.
So these are the first idea shots that I sent to Julie.
Share again, Mike.
These are the two that Julie and I had discussed. Keeping it single story on the wings. This is how it ended up being the way it is with the little dormers and stuff like that. And then a more, I guess, more peak here.
And I had told him, I said, I think we want a higher gable, the wraparound porch. I'm starting looking at ideas, but it's really hard with the shape of that building.
Yep.
There's that one.
But keep in mind, you're trying to take a house and make it a commercial building. And like, for instance, a house is 28 feet. A ranch house, let's say, for instance, is like 25, 28 feet wide. We're trying to make it 45. So the house scale is going to get blown up. I'm concerned about it getting blown up so big that it's going to look out of place. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That one. Yeah, that way. That way building with the house lot. Yeah.
Couple other concept photos I found too today. It's a couple other ones I wanted to share with you.
So Mike, why don't you work on one that has that courtyard so that both sides don't have to be exactly the same? I mean, maybe that's an option, but Julie, if in fact this isn't part of what Mike's doing for, you know what I mean? I think we need to talk about that as it relates to, you know, this contract and what we're paying him to do, because this is, you know, this is not imminent.
Yeah, he's to come up with this idea and then we'll put it out for bid and as we fine tune it. But I just say that to make sure, I know last time we went through so much work with Mike, just to remind us, we don't have Mike for this, for that capability. That's me. Mike, I like that one on the upper right, that's a nice looking house.
Hold on a second. I just flipped. This is a city hall in Bainbridge Island, Washington. Saw the barn, saw the overhang, something a little bit different.
The one on the right,
No, you should hear. Again, I gotta share this. I apologize.
one on the left. Oh, that one, yeah. Oh, that's cool.
But the white ones that you're showing, Mike, if you drive around Sister Bay or a lot of other communities here, a lot of those homes look like what people are building now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they all look the same. Yeah.
So you guys are liking this one?
I'm not saying I like it or don't, I'm just telling you that there's a lot of residential homes, new builds that look like.
Yeah. Personally, when I saw this one, this is from the Cape Cod, Massachusetts area. This I saw working for the entry, admin wing, council wing, 1 story, high roof. Obviously, colors can be played with. It meets the trim and the different materials that the ordinances call for in Sister Bay, but.
Well, it has an overhang, so when people immediately walk out of the door, if it's snowing or raining or whatever it is, they're not in the elements.
Yeah, they're protected. Yep.
So I had some 6 pictures to the village, and the top 3 were all a little bit similar.
Let's go back and see what we sent Mike.
Yeah, I knew that in the collage, I don't.
Yeah, yep.
So, but this was my favorite one. And I think I had sent them all.
I remember there were one.
Did everybody have a committee yet?
Yeah, I think you said it.
Denise, I believe this is the packet you had.
Yes.
Is that keep showing them, like, keep showing.
No, that looks like it's from the zoning code.
No,
No, that's
you
not,
also had the zoning board.
that's not me.
There were 13 pages of examples.
That did not come from me.
Well, because Heidi showed that that's what you had brought us.
Well, keep going, you're only on page 5. Oh.
This included fire station ideas. For photos out.
That's the end of it.
So Denise has some right there that are very similar to what you just showed us, Mike. Which may work for the designs. So I'll send those to you.
So you have something additional to what I have in this 13-page packet?
I have to look at what's on your 30 page.
Okay.
Can we maybe just finalize or talk about the wing sizes, so we know what you have to work with, Mike?
Sure.
Because then I don't want to have keep making changes. If we can agree, yeah, this is the size, meeting room we can work with, great. This is the number of offices we can work with, great. At least it gives you the direction to finalize and give us a schematic.
Can I
Sure.
ask, could we, I mean, there's lots of villages that have relatively new halls or administration buildings in the state. Couldn't we find out in the communities that are about 1,100 people like us what their buildings look like and how many people, how much space, how many square feet they're building in? I mean, we're kind of doing this in a vacuum, but there's got to be lots of other 1,100 people, communities in the Midwest for sure that are doing this.
Yeah, so when we were originally coming up with a budget number, Mike, we had looked at all the new administrative buildings in the state.
Okay.
To find out how they were designed, how much they cost. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, everybody tends to be going with more of a, I don't wanna say a full style or a generic, kind of like a post office looking building. But what our committee had wanted was something that didn't look like that, like Jerry had said, they wanted it to be, to match the history of that property. And that's why we weren't able to just copy what somebody else did, because we wanted it unique and specific to the farm heritage.
I hear you, but I mean, we've got to think about the cost of this thing too, right?
Well, Sebastopol isn't that.
And I think I recall when we were looking at what the other, just construction costs in general, that the costs of doing something a little unique versus you know, something very utilitarian were not hugely different, but most of the costs were enclosing square footage and, you know, kind of like with the parks building, same thing.
And we got data on that?
I don't remember the exact numbers, or if they were.
Mike, do you?
I couldn't hear all of the question.
You have data on similar sized buildings in the state or municipal buildings that I mean, do you have something we could use that would give us some facts to make decisions?
As far as pricing,
Oh, size, style, pricing, yes.
not at my fingertips, but I can get it.
Did we ask, I got the impression that we asked you for that earlier and you supplied it. Did I understand that wrong?
No, we didn't ask Mike for that earlier. We did our own research on that, Mike. Where we went on, when we first started talking about it, to say, okay, what is this gonna cost? We looked at what else was in the state staff that, at a staff level, before we got involved with Mike. We did that through when we were doing the facilities plan, I think is when all that happened.
Didn't AIRS have a lot of data on that too, that we looked at as part of what they were preparing?
Yeah, because they were projecting what the cost would be, and that's when we said, wait a minute, that we don't want that to be anywhere in USA, basically, to have that old style generic look. We wanted it more unique, is what we had told them. So Mike Martin, it sounds like they're okay with this design, the number of seats, keep the number of seats. I don't know if it's consensus or not, but around 50.
50 people?
I disagree with.
Okay, so we disagree, so let's talk about that.
100 seats.
We gotta.
Can I disagree with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
But I just think it's a waste of space.
I think when we discussed the number of seats last time, we looked at historical meetings and especially contentious meetings. And the number of turnout, and it generally peaked in the low to mid hundreds for the largest meetings that we've had.
Right.
And we wanted to make sure that we could accommodate that. And that's where some flexibility here, we're going to be shrinking that space and using the foyer
Right.
to come into play. But if we're thinking of putting our large meeting space into the ice rink, community center, whatever, then having duplicated here wouldn't make any sense.
Depends if it's for meetings, right? There's a community and then there's the meeting. This room will be set up with AV, and we hear this all the time, right? We're at meetings where they're like, we can't hear you.
But
So
this
this
will have
one
AV.
is, this one would be set up for AV, so this is where you would be having your large meetings.
With the public and community.
Correct.
So we could have that at the community center too. So,
You could duplicate it, but I mean, the thought was. You have your, okay, if you have a meeting, you go into executive session, everything is right there. Yeah, you could have that large meeting room at your community center, or you can do for executive session, or staff has to run back. You're kind of just doing the same thing you're doing now. There's no executive room that fits everybody. If you need something, you're running back to the admin building. But having the larger meeting space on this, at this building, everything is there.
4 times a year.
Yeah,
Make
So,
it
let's,
five
okay,
times.
so let's,
5 times.
instead of
for
arguing
3 years.
and being contentious about it. Why don't we go around the room and ask each individual person what their minimum is and see if we have consensus?
I'll go first. I'd be okay with anywhere between 80 to 100. I would not do. But just thinking of, we're talking about growth here, right? And looking into the future. I think there is potential for our meetings to be more expensive in the future, especially as we work on these projects, right? I can see people either being against or in favor of some of these things that might, start bringing people in. And I think our goal for the future is to get our community involved, right? We definitely want more people to attend these meetings. We're gonna work on press releases, or if we're thinking about newsletters or things like that. Where we're communicating and being transparent with the community, we want them here, so I do think that we think about, inviting our community to our meeting, and I think 100 people, no more than that. Would be a fair number of people. 80 to 100.
Did you hear that, Mike?
100 people?
Yeah. Yeah,
80 to
literally it's
100.
80 to 100. Jerry?
As I'm just recollecting back to last time, when we looked at the data of large meetings and the utilization of the space for the things that we've done for planning, and things like that, I think that's where we ended up on the 150 number, so that's where I like a 75 to 100 number with the ability to have some sort of flexible atrium like this, or we could go bigger if we had to for those 4 times a year when it gets exciting.
Okay, Mike, that 75 to 100 where the wall opens up into the atrium to provide additional seating.
Okay.
Denise, no less than 100. Denise is no less than 100. Louise,
No more than 50, because you can seat 25 outside. The most I've seen in this building, these tables were filled, this table was filled, that table was filled, the back row was filled, and that was filled. That's 30 people. Nobody was in the hallway. And we maybe had 10 or maybe 15 people on Zoom. That's 50.
We've had multiple people in the hallway and outside.
Twice in a year. I just, what else would you do with that space that we could use other times of the year? It just,
Mike Glassman,
I would really like to see what other communities like ours are doing in order to make that recommendation. If I'm forced to give a number, I would say 50, and I would eliminate the wall on the back there so you have expansion space. But I would really want to see what other communities like us are doing with their floor plans. For both the office on the right-hand side, as well as their meeting space on the left-hand side, and that shared space in the middle. I really think it would be helpful to see other examples.
okay, Mike Martin, so that's 2 for 50, 3 for 100.
No,
Reading it.
3
correct.
or between 75 and 100.
Right, there was 75 to 100, 80 to 100,
Yeah.
100, and 50 and 50, so.
Would there be any? If we designed the room. We had seating for 75 with an extra 25 out here, would that work?
Rooms still have to be that wide?
Say again, I'm sorry.
The rooms still have to be that wide.
Would the room need to still be that wide?
If it was 75.
Well,
Are we doing it just so that one side of the building is the same size as the other side? We didn't think about a different design?
yeah, we can. And this was just a jump off point.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I understand.
You change the design of where your board sits too, but there are quite a few on there.
So I took, Lily and Jerry each gave a range and I took the lowest number. Everybody else gave a flat number, which totaled 355 divided by 5. The average is 71. So I guess that means 75 with overflow. How about that?
You have make 75 with overflow?
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
Are there any other committees? And plan commission has bigger attendance. But thinking about other committees that don't necessarily meet here because of availability of the fire station is another schedule. I think our goal is to accommodate every committee. So, you know, Marina Committee, SBAA, everyone that doesn't meet here, Village Hall, to all hold their meetings there. How big are those meetings typically? Like
Marina is usually 5 people or no one. SBAA is no one.
It's not.
It doesn't mean that they couldn't, it's good that they try to use it, yeah. Utilities, I don't know, I zoomed in. Parks, you know. Anybody? And the people that came, there were 10, 5, something like that.
Plan commission has had some pretty controversial ones since I.
question, yeah. Well, I'm just saying that, I mean, I would like to see more people in the future. I would too, but you know, I would work towards that.
Our housing, when we had that housing session, that was in the back of the.
Well, then we have those, you know, those sections too.
Yeah, when we rolled out the housing plan, it was, all the chairs were full and they were standing in the back. So it kind of depends on the topic.
Housing is huge.
So yeah, just keeping that in mind if they want to. To be more inviting and get our community more involved in these meetings. of that. I'm not saying that 200 square foot, but if we have that, I think that should be our goal too. But
How about something like that?
Yeah, that's good, and then we, it's something like that almost makes it easier for the people in the atrium to see the board. Cause they're a little closer to them.
Yeah. With a folding wall though, it'd be easier for the flow of people, the seats to continue out. Although I do see your point, you'd be able to, if this was all glass here. I mean, you can even put monitors outside.
How much space is, between the wall and the first chair? That aisle? Is there enough room to add more across? If we wanted to?
Yep. And you can also go back too.
But Mike, all of these tweaks you're making are not changing the footprint or the square footage, right?
That's correct.
I mean,
But I think it's a reasonable question to ask. How many chairs could we get in here? I think if you did now, and it all depends on how you guys want to lay it out too. That's 117 chairs, leaving enough space to get, you need at least 3 to 4 feet around chairs to exit. So
so that would be 10% of the community at the meeting. What is the space to the right of that room gonna be used for then typically? Is that gonna just be unused space 99% of the time?
this space here.
That open space, yeah.
Yeah, that would be circulation space coming in, using the bathrooms this here. We talked about, could one of the not community development, one of the groups could put you could put a kiosk out there, you could put information stuff out there.
Or a lot of times like plan commission or you're working on rec planning or something, you have your exhibits. Or there's gonna be, I don't know, you're gonna be building new buildings, so you put all the exhibits in the hallway, the public can come in and look at it. So display space, it's a way to engage the public.
Could there also be a couple of comfy chairs, a coffee table?
Sure.
Yeah, and you can make it as comfortable as you want.
Well, do we really need it though, is where I was going. What if we just eliminated that square footage?
Well, I think
We're still going, I feel like we're going backwards from what this committee has talked about in the past.
Well, we're looking at it, I didn't know that it was in stone. So, I mean, we're looking at the floor plan and trying to figure out the best option.
I mean, if you're not gonna use it, you take out that square footage, you take down the cost of the building.
Yeah, I think you'd still need a separation between admin and the council. I mean, so you could cut 10 feet out of the building. I mean, you're still gonna need space for your bathrooms that need to be public in them somewhere off this. That's the best way to put this to you. Your circulation wants to do that. Not saying this entrance couldn't go somewhere else and we could reconfigure things, but you're still gonna need a hallway of some sort to separate these two and get to your public services, I guess, or your restrooms. But to your point, this could be shrunk down a little bit.
Can there be outdoor
I'm sorry, say again?
access to the restroom?
I don't think you'd want that, we're gonna keep the building secure.
I mean,
Mike Lilly was asking if you could design outdoor access to the rec room, and then there's discussion about it.
Rec room, you mean the council chamber?
Restroom.
Yeah, what we could do, because I thought about this too. I thought it'd be really neat if this atrium or clear story space was wide open all the way through. So you could have another set of doors here that you could walk in and out of. The only thing is that the bathrooms work the best when they're back to back. Not saying you could, yeah, you could put men's over here, women's over here, but we still need places for electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. You know, water heaters and furnaces and stuff like that, which could still be put in. We could also take in, stretch the building a little bit more. Like such, and then I'll put an access door there.
Mike, I know you said this before, but how wide is the atrium?
About 27 feet. What I'm going for here is steel likes to be in 5-foot increments, so I'm trying to get 25-foot steel.
Okay.
So 20 would be nice. 15 is probably too tight. And again, it's not the end of the world. It's just a rule of thumb we try to run with.
So is it possible to address some of the concerns is to pull the wings in so that the atrium's only 20 feet? So you're getting that, you can use the 20-foot, or sorry, the.
We could, but if you guys want to go with that 2-story look, it's gonna look awful skinny.
Yeah, okay.
So here, let me switch programs real quick here. So you guys can visually see what I'm getting at.
Because the narrower the atrium gets, that means you can't use the space for anything else. It's a wide.
So now, Mike, this is Janelle. Okay, so you're gonna be seating available for 75 individuals in the meeting room itself with space for overflow in the atrium for a total of how many seats?
Right now, probably, I think we talked about 75 plus 2,500.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can put over 117 in the main room if we pack it out.
Correct.
And the atrium is unlimited. Not unlimited, but you have no public.
Okay, so if we do something that's 20 feet, maybe this won't look too bad.
So Denise, the max seating is 117 in the room? Okay.
No, don't put that in the minutes.
Okay.
We're gonna be held to that, just.
Okay.
I just knew it was drawn for 75, I mean.
Okay.
Somebody could argue that, because, I mean, you could squeeze them in those really, really tight, so you can't walk between the aisles. I would just say that it was, designed for 75 comfortably with room for 25.
Okay, that's what I've got.
What do we have? 48 feet. And back 45 feet. Back this way. Hit that 12 feet. So that's what it would kind of look like being 20-foot wide. Plus or minus. If you want, again, if you wanted to go with a 2-story look like this. Okay. If we went even less than that, if we went in 5 feet. You see how it's getting really skinny?
I think that he had one like that, and that's when I told him it looked like a reformer door.
This works really good. I mean, honestly, this works really good when you have a single slope roof on it and it's called a spine. You'll see it on like medical office buildings, especially up here in Appleton where they do this.
I also told him it looked like a steel one.
And I was offended by that too. I'm kidding. You know, that's when you start getting into that modern stuff, which you guys are interested in, which is fine, but you could get away with that way. But this, I think, wants to have some width to it.
Like, to keep things moving along, maybe the roof pitch dictates the width of that atrium. So
Okay.
I'm good with it, maybe we just need to take another look at it, consensus, I think, 27 feet, so you can use it for other things. Proportion is good.
Okay, so we're gonna take another vote, Mike.
Okay.
We're gonna go around. Width of the atrium, Lily. 20, I'm gonna say 20 or 25 because that's the span.
Yep.
But I feel like it's a little more than that, okay?
It's or what it is now, 20, 25, or 27 would be the choices.
I think when you, 27 is really 25, right? 'Cause
Right.
That gets your.
Yes, because the way it's going to be built is the studs will be outboard of the steel. So if it's 27 because it's out to outer wall, so basically 5 foot off of that, it's going to be 22.
By what length, Mike? So that's taken 7 feet off by what length?
Again, depending upon if we, add outdoor access to the toilets. Let me just undo this real quick here.
I just meant, what's the length from the front of the building under that over the back, the middle piece? What's the length of it? The width is 27. What's the length?
That's what I'm working on. Hold on.
Because they had asked for outdoor access.
Oh.
It would be about 77 foot. So a little, can you guys see this? I hope.
What is it without that foyer there? There, yep, that point,
Hold on.
restroom wall. That's really how much you're looking at for,
I think the interior of the wall, we're looking
Yeah,
at just
not
the
the outer
interior
wall.
space.
yeah.
About 66 foot without the foyer.
To the inner restroom wall. To just the open foyer space, not including the restroom.
Basically, how deep are the wings? Cause it's about the same.
About 45. Because this should be. I have the wall set back a little bit, but that should be 45 feet rectangular.
It's still on your phone. You can measure it on your phone.
Like, we're just, gonna measure the room that we're in to get an idea of.
How long are these tables? How long are these tables, Janelle? Any idea? 5 feet?
I think there's 6.
6 footer? Well, this is 18 feet.
Count your ceiling tiles are 2 foot.
Oh, we're just using the tape number.
I would say
That works too.
probably 30 feet.
It's about 24 to 26.
26 feet. Oh, 35.
Pretty good guess, how'd you know?
You're good.
So the room you're in now is about the size of what you have drawn there, like,
Yep.
That is big.
not including the little bump out on the side here.
The size of where? Wow.
So we put that, so maybe I can just do it before you draft,
I know.
not before you go.
Yeah, it's huge.
6'4"
That's a 20%.
So Mike, how far away does the chair have to be from a door? Like in the meeting room, was it 40 to 40 feet?
3 to 4 feet.
So, okay, so 20 minus 16. You have to be from the other door too. You'd have about 14 feet to get chairs. in.
I don't know what ramp you're doing. I thought I'm doing the foyer. Don't we have measuring the foyer?
Yeah, I know, but. So I was saying, okay, so if this was, based on your measurement, this was 20,
Right.
and you had your chairs, that had to be 4 from here.
Yep.
4 from here. How many could you really get in there? And it left you like, I think, about 14 feet to put your chairs.
Oh, so what, I think what we're saying is the foyer is about the width of this,
Yeah.
of this room.
Exactly.
There's no there.
Yeah, that is a very large foyer.
It's actually bigger.
Wow.
I mean, Mike, is there data on how you should allocate your floor space? I mean, if this foyer is a percentage of our total floor space, does it make sense?
Depending upon what you want to put in it, if you want to put seating, if you want to have displays out there, if you want to have overflow. We can make it as little as 5 feet if you want. It's gonna feel cramped if it's smaller than that, obviously. One of the things is that your bathrooms, it's gonna be at least, if the bathrooms stay in this configuration, it's gonna be at least 18 foot wide. Unless we move the bathrooms outboard.
Well, you could put the bathrooms the other direction and pop them right against the wall and eliminate the whole foyer, or just put a hallway there.
Good. Could bring these inboard too and put them right here. That's what you're talking.
That would save you 10 to 15% of the total square footage of the building.
The admin though, or they're not accessible, because right now you're accessing them from the foyer.
No, you still would. You just change their direction,
So anyway, we're south, they go east west.
and you'd still have to have a foyer or a hallway there.
I think we need to keep a foyer. After measuring, I think we can go down to 20. I think that would still either give us options to put something, you know, granted not here, but here or in the center.
You know, I'm just gonna share my experience when I go to other communities and meetings, and you guys do what you want with it, but. For example, if I go to a trail meeting or something, there's a gathering space where we're all talking. We're viewing the maps, the plans, and then, okay, everybody, it's time to stop now and go into the session, and we walk. From that gathering space into the session, which here is your meeting room, and then we listen to the speakers and the presentations. They do that at the press, I mean, that's. Not uncommon in government buildings where you have that gathering area and. We don't engage with the public because we don't have a place to engage with the public right now. So this kind of gives you that opportunity to be social with them, gather with them, talk to them instead of, welcome to Cincinnati, quick, go take your seat. You know, it gives you an opportunity to try and be a modern community and work with your people.
I think we can make it
They have plenty
an
of room to
inviting
mingle with 20 feet.
space.
There's plenty of room to mingle.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, Louise, I'm just saying you do need something there.
Right?
I mean,
There's
I
plenty of
think
room in the meeting room
this
too.
is being utilized to put up some sort of like have a section, informational bulletin type of thing where you have, even if it's like this meeting, for example, this is what we're talking about, have it out there for people to see,
The poster board's on display so that you can.
like a display.
All those cool giant maps you have at the administration building.
That rolled up in my closet.
Well, some of them on the wall.
Well,
they're very
display
interesting.
of
Display data.
upcoming meetings. Something like
And
that,
the administration
like a
staff would,
schedule.
the administration would, staff would do all that work. Okay.
Well, they go around and have to post things.
They don't already,
Right, but all, just have it, I got it, I just want to, yeah, we understand it, okay.
So Mike, looking at the large gathering space, it seems like the size of it is being driven by how wide that. Dais, the chair table is. Could it be 3 seats down the side so that we could shrink 2 in the center? And then
Sure.
that shrink a little bit and we could still fit the 75 plus with overflow seating into the foyer. And I think that would allow us to shrink that wing in total. And reduce some space while still having the same amount of functionality. Close the number, because that's the number of board members, plus administrator and.
Seven, and again.
Well, you know, they get, they have everyone sitting up there who needs to be directly involved.
Which then I didn't think about until you brought that up. How much space per the 7 chairs does each individual have?
Sorry, for the 7 chairs.
You know, how much individual space?
What's the length of that?
Oh, between them. They're 3 foot on center.
3 feet? Okay.
That's really tight,
That's basically.
especially like planning commission.
Well, that's this table. 2 people at the side.
Fine. Yeah.
I'm guessing, you're gonna tell me.
I'm gonna tell you, you're right, Jerry.
You didn't tell me.
I said, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is 6 feet. It is.
No, you should say you're right.
You're right, Jerry. Okay, and these are exactly the same. I mean, I take up more than one. I'm taking up more than half the space currently.
But at the board meeting, you don't, there's 3 people on that side of the board.
Okay, 11 chairs, does that sound right?
Oh,
Well, 12 we talked about for the attorney, I think, when the attorney's with us.
And
You
there are department heads that could sit in the front row.
Yeah, you need 10 for sure, and then if you have department heads, they need a, like, during budget, you want your finance person there, or
Right.
something with public works, you want the person sitting up there.
So then like that whole block then can shift right towards the foyer and pull in the outside wall, right?
Probably pick up about 3.5 feet. You're not gonna want to make this so sardine can tight either. It's gotta be a little breathing room.
Me, it already looks cramped.
How wide is that room now?
45 by 45. The box is here. And
Oh, no, I meant just the usual, yes, that, what you're meant.
30 feet. It's this room.
It's this room, which has standing room, so it's this room,
Well,
But
but
fewer
we get it,
people.
but we get it go to the right. Into the foyer
Right,
and
and
expand.
we have plenty of room for the seating for the board in this room.
It doesn't have all these tables.
I think this actually has, I don't know, without counting, but I think this is less seating than what we have in this room. Cause you're looking at where your board sits, right now we're in one, no, that isn't, we do per room, don't we?
Yeah, we have,
We are,
yeah, this more seating. Without, like, I think you're suggesting without the table, right?
yeah.
So if there were tables, put it complicated, like,
You know, like right now, we're set up with tables where people can,
But what would we use those for in that context?
work sessions.
You could fit us,
Or just move the
smaller than
chairs that are
75
there,
group
put
of
the-
tables.
Move the chairs that are there and put.
How big are your tables there?
6 by 3.
when I
6
have.
by
this
6.
thing,
Okay, do we have the absolute need for that breakout session, or could you send everybody to the foyer and shut the?
No, we
Well,
don't.
need it?
You send it to the choir, they're all watching, you can do your lips, they can see what you're talking about, they can make really see
Just
faces.
brainstorm.
Yeah.
Behold,
That is-
Let me do this.
Would we accomplishing the goal of what we were trying to do here with this, or are we tinkering about the edges too much?
Well. Okay. I didn't think we'd get into this level of detail, but Mike needs to know the size, we're gonna pick that size, so he can design the outside. So if we can at least agree on size, dimensions, yeah, then he can look for different architecture, different ways of doing the outside of the building.
That's a little bit too tight on the back there. That's what it looks like with tables and chairs.
But you know, fewer people than you can now.
don't know what we need. Tables. We need them for a working session, we can bring them in when we need them, but on a regular basis.
Yeah, I don't know, I think our. These are great, people are just trying to bring with their laptops. You know, their water bottles, their cups, but.
Well, that's it, but I, you know, that's sit in the back row, they don't have the table, and the laptops are in their laps.
Or if you guys are doing it once.
Well, like you said, I don't think we have to get into the weeds on this necessarily, but
I'm not in favor of, shrinking the room size. It looks too cramped.
so, this is where the foyer is 20 feet, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm not in favor of a grand foyer that's 27 feet wide.
So that's my vote.
So you're saying you like the 20-foot foyers, but you don't want the room smaller. So if we just kind of undid what we just did.
I think it's gonna look like a potato barn, but I think you're gonna have that very narrow. Institutional looking with the wings, unless you can come up with something really creative on it, or maybe turn them different directions. Or maybe you can go one roof line all the way across.
Say again?
It could just be one roof line all the way across. With a dormer, I don't know,
We're kind of losing this two-story
you're
foyer.
looking what you're going for though.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we can get to a floor plan within 75% of happiness, I can, I was fully planning on a couple more meetings here. I could do a bunch of different elevations with different roof lines based off this floor plan. If that helps you, I can do 2-story atrium, I can do a 1-story atrium. Do dormers, don't do dormers, wrap around porch, whatever you want. I just need, I'm kind of looking for a floor plan shape that I could take the next step with.
I think that would be a good idea, and looking at a 1-story, versus 2-story.
I'm also against that.
So are we leaning towards a 2-story looking atrium?
I think I don't know, we're split.
Okay, well, like I said, let me do some options on it.
Like it looks like with this plan, I think the only thing we need is to squeeze another office in somewhere, and then I think it's.
So the atrium is gonna be 20 feet wide now?
Yeah, I think that'd be true.
Okay.
Now let's talk about that office. Okay, there was comments that these offices seem too small. Okay, well, let's back up from there. Do we want an open concept? Or do we want offices?
So. Open.
Well, in terms of an open concept, you mean, could we have offices, but have offices with walls or, that were partitions that are flexible, that can be moved? That are not, plaster. So that if,
Usually you don't get that in soundproofing.
Yeah, you won't get soundproofing out of it.
Okay.
Basically, the movable partition walls are a lot like a very tall cubicle. And they're only about 2 inches thick.
Okay.
And you're not gonna get the sound you want. Now, could you go in the conference to do that? Right, but you're getting up out of your chair to go make a phone call multiple times a day. And everyone's sharing that same one conference room. Could you have 2 conference rooms? Sure.
Just one other thing, going back to the point that was made earlier. Are we gonna end up with this being redundant space between this and the community center? Because if that's the case, we should just be looking at the right-hand side of the building and worrying about this community space in the community center. I mean, I'm looking at data all over the place about, it seems like we're way over the typical size, square footage of a building like this for a community of our size. But the gotcha is that it looks like in a lot of places, they put that meeting room space that we've been spending all this time on in a separate facility. They separated from the office.
I think in the beginning, everyone, or it was kind of stated that we wanted it all together.
Mike, to answer your question, I think the community center, which is now the warming house, it's down the road, not that this isn't, because this is too. But, you know, that would be not necessarily, for always for municipal meetings. The
Okay.
intent was that for municipal meetings, so that's board, committee, et cetera, would be with, you know, in this house in the same place as where, the administration, that was the intent.
I just asked because I'm looking at it like 1,200 examples, and that's what.
And the community to have other functions, you know, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is more similar to South Liberty Road.
Sebastian.
Egg Harbor, yeah, in Door County, the ones I'm aware of have gone this way, where you're having your meeting room next to your admin building or admin office.
Yeah, Liberty Grove doesn't have a place for the community, but obviously Egg Harbor has the press. But it's big, yep.
Mike, are you waiting on us?
Yes and no. I mean, if you guys, let's have a productive conversation. We're gonna keep the meeting room, right?
Yeah, right now, yes.
Okay, all right. So which, do you want walls for offices or do you want open?
Privacy, you can't have movable walls without some sort of soundproofing.
I like the walls with the type of work that's done here. You know, the type of information that's held in there, the type of conversation. Do you think there should be privacy in each office?
It's not in any other municipal building here.
Now, the cubicles aren't gonna have walls, those are just little partitions, right?
Yeah, about 4 foot high. Depending upon what cubicle you bought. And those cubicles are about $10,000 a piece.
There's no, if you want to have a separate conversation, you can walk into a separate room and it's all one big room.
Yeah, this is more like the wastewater treatment plant and like the parks building we just designed. Where there's separate offices.
Those are old buildings already.
Yeah. Or am I missing it? Did they build them?
No, they're old buildings, but, and I don't think they have any.
Like, keep things moving along, how about if I work with you on trying to get another office in there somewhere? And then we'll look at what the outside design would look like on this.
Sure. Whatever you guys want to do.
The only other thing I'll say about office design, and this comes right from the experts, is that if you do go with offices, you put them in the middle of the room so that the natural light is available to all of the employees. You don't put the offices on the outside walls.
If you have the room for it, yeah. You could put to that point, like you could put 4 small offices in the middle of this floor plan. I mean, something else to look about too, we need space for mechanical.
Yeah.
Okay. This storage here could move here to balance this out, because again, with the original concept was to have a shed type roof off the 2-story space to house that. We can't forget we have to put a furnace and a mop sink and a water heater and electrical boxes and such in here to heat and cool and power the building. But we could get rid of this stuff in the middle here and put it back here.
You've determined that there's no basement on this, we're just putting.
No, it's on grade. Yep, slab on grade.
And why is that? I'm just curious.
Cost.
Okay,
A basement, a basement, if you do anything down there, there's more than likely it's gonna require an elevator. That's $120,000 right there. If you
Oh.
put a basement in, you're gonna end up collecting more junk than you need, my opinion.
Okay.
You're gonna go from 12 foot, if you have a basement, you're gonna have 12 foot foundation, 12 foot tall foundation walls just to get an 8 foot ceiling down there. This will be 4 foot. Single story insulated foundation around this thing. I think it's a better idea to keep it on grade.
thank you.
Yep.
Are you guys okay with us wrapping it up with Mike and on with the rest of the?
Yeah, because we're never gonna get to the tour. So, yeah.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
So bright over here now.
It is.
I know, it's pretty dark over there.
You stayed in the light the whole time.
Well, I can see it better. Well, I end up doing the same thing. Oh, did you?
Mhm.
I think, all right, so now we are on 6D like David. And that's Middle Road East parking. Pages 23 and 25, right, if anybody's interested. So on that one, are we supposed to, are we looking for,
Well, we had talked about, asking about different ideas that could be done to prevent cars from parking at the intersection.
yeah, I know.
And so these were just some ideas that Skylar came up with. Nate gave me one, I think it was the one with the planter boxes.
Yeah,
The other one, Skylar or I found, so we just wanted to share with you that you asked us to look at different options or ideas. These are some ways you can control the parking there and prevent people from parking in an area you don't want them to park. I did talk to Skylar and he did, as you saw, he gave us a cost of what something like that would cost, so.
Yeah.
You know, to have it, you'd have to pay for it, you'd have to budget for it.
So I was kind of watching the past couple of weeks and I've noticed that like tour buses and really large vehicles will pull into that spot temporarily and load and unload people. And if we did something like this, that would prevent that entirely.
I think that's what the committee wanted to do, right?
Well, I think we wanted to prevent people from parking there illegally.
And
From
if
parking
because
there
of
at
the
all,
fire,
right.
parking there at all because of the fire.
Yeah.
That was the main issue, right? So the emergency vehicles.
Yeah,
get-
I mean, it's
So,
yellow
but
curb
the
and they were,
designs that I saw, wouldn't that also restrict the emergency
I didn't
vehicles?
understand that either. to tell you the truth.
I mean, I get the problem, but then it's there all the time, I agree.
Yeah, so right now, when the fire, if fire department comes down there and you have parking on both sides, it's an issue. With this, there's no car there for them to worry about, they can just turn. They hit a curb, big deal, they wouldn't hit a curb, it doesn't come out that far, doesn't block the lane, but it does prevent people from parking in those areas they don't want vehicles parked.
What does the fire chief have to say?
He doesn't want them parked there.
Yeah, he doesn't want the cars there.
So, I mean, does he have a preference on how we fix it?
Well,
No,
I
that's-
mean, we made it no parking. That was how, that was our goal.
But they don't listen to us, they
But-
still park there.
But this kind of comes back to code enforcement. Has anybody been ticketed there? Probably not, because we're,
Well, and we
Working on
talked
code
to, last time about Eric
creating some kind of sign that could be up against the curb. You know, that's portable, where people could still, when the emergency vehicles were coming through, they could still get out of the way, pull into that no parking space. But because nobody's paying attention to the yellow line, he was supposed to create some signage.
I thought that there's a sign on the grass there on the
There
other
is,
side of the sidewalk.
there's a
that
sign there,
says
but
no
it's, I
parking.
mean, it's a post, it's, yes, there's a sign there about 3, maybe at 1.5 parking spaces in. That says no parking at any time, there's a yellow curb, and they've done the best they could to get rid of the, you know, the white stripes that.
But I think
Or
any
parking
reasonable
spaces.
person would look at that and be able to see the sign
They
and
would.
the yellow marking, and I think it's just people parking there, cause what are you gonna do about it?
Get a ticket, they'll just pay it.
Well,
They're not realizing.
they're not getting a ticket, are they?
Well, we're out of, which is on our agenda, but we're out of the ticket books are.
But I think that's my point. I think if we were able to ticket people parking there illegally on a regular basis, it's probably repeat offenders who are like,
Yeah,
But you know what? We get new people every single week.
right.
So I don't
Yeah,
know.
you think it would be a.
We
a
could
continual
definitely
problem.
make some money for the village, no doubt, especially if the fee goes up to $50. But I don't think that's the solution, because there's new people here all the time.
And the personnel committee has said they're not so interested in ticketing people. They want somebody out there to educate people about not parking there. So I don't know. I don't. think
Maybe
you're gonna
we
get a
need
lot of
more
money
than
out
one
of it.
sign. If Eric did put up one, maybe you need one,
He's got a couple along there.
maybe we need
I think
3.
between shop and
Eric,
42.
do you
there's-
wanna unmute yourself and tell them what signage you erected?
He's not. available.
Yeah,
I guess just, how big of a problem is it?
Huge.
Eric,
It's,
can you unmute yourself?
it's people
So that's-
parking, usually, I mean, it's people for shop,
No, I know the illegal parking is
yeah.
a lot, but I mean,
It'll be down towards
what's
the
the,
bottom.
what, I mean, have we had,
There you go, you should be okay.
I mean,
now.
is it
Can you
worth-
talk?
Because
Is it
my
worth
fire
fixing?
engines
The
trying to
fire
get
trucks
down
have
there, but not
some
able to get
people.
by, is that what
they
you-
have?
Taking me.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you talk, Eric? Cause I think you're.
Yeah, I
unmuted.
got you now, Janelle. But did you ask me what sign I put out there?
Yeah, that's what they're wondering.
It's a no parking anytime sign.
Yeah, it's a tall, it's on like a 6-foot, pole, or I think of wood, is it wood? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's
so-
not a 4x4 post.
Post, and so it's pretty high, it's not low necessarily, so, and it's not like a sign you'd see.
Is it
well,
on
says
a,
no parking anytime.
is it on a concrete block, or did you actually
No.
put it into the lawn, Eric?
It's in the lawn.
He tried to, you kept it in compliance with the DOT standards, right? Is that what you were going for? About out
You could pull
height,
people back.
location.
Yeah, we have to, there's standard heights and practices too. And you also got to take in, if you're putting a post in, it's got to be high for snow removal purposes, so people don't, and also pedestrians walking by. You don't want a low post or a low sign because they'll bang their shoulder on it, or someone will walk into it. It wants to be, safely, so, someone doesn't run into it or anything like that, but also, viewable for, traffic to see it.
So
I
do
honestly- I don't
we
know what
need
else
to
you could
stripe it
do.
then? Not just have a yellow curb, but stripe it and put up 2 more signs?
I'm even putting up another sign would work, striping it yellow is probably the only thing that will.
What about putting big old planters out there?
Yeah,
Well,
but that's what I
then the
had
truck's
said,
gonna
But
hit
then
us.
you've got a problem with the fire truck.
Well,
No, it's not the fire truck,
It's
it's
the
the people
cars
getting
getting
out of the way, so the fire truck.
Well, then you,
gets
then
through.
you still have a problem with the person that's trying to get out of the way.
That's why I had thought that we could have something like some of our other signs that's movable. On, I don't know if it's a concrete block or whatever, it's right up next to the curb that says no parking.
you're saying it basically takes up like the first foot of the spot, so it's awkward to park there.
Awkward to
But
park there, but
you
a
know,
car
you
can still
get out
pull
of the way
in there
for
to
a
get out of the
fire
way.
That's
which-
probably the only option you got.
So planting
do.
it
Yeah, that's probably the
in
only
the
option.
lawn is not
Yeah.
working. It's gotta be in the space itself.
So a concrete sign in the stall, so
Mhm.
people can't park there, but they can still pull in there?
Well, or whatever it is that they use,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for some of our portable signs. That was my idea.
Eric, do you know what? I don't know what those portable signs look like, Denise.
They're the Robbie blocks.
Oh, those, okay, you're looking at.
Yeah.
The bus stop signs kind of.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're the concrete bases, yeah. Mhm.
In the stall, next to the curb, 3 of them.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
in each stall, that would.
And next year, when we do striping or anything, we're gonna have to
Just stripe them.
just stripe them.
Eric, will you be doing any more striping this fall? I know you just went through and did the handicap signs.
It all predicates on time. Right now, we're in cold patching, you know, and then there was another project that I wanted to get going after cold patching that involved cutting back foliage around our street signs and stop signs. And then sounds good, buddy. You want to go watch TV? Um, and I also had that shed at the sports complex lined up. I did want to get the yellow no parking on the curves painted this year. I don't know if that's going to be in the game plan, especially with the pole barn now having to be possibly emptied out. I mean, that's going to take precedence over any kind of project that we have going out in the field.
Well, we could at least get the concrete
There's
signs
always,
out
there's
there.
always a chance. I could always fast track anything that the committee would like done within that month period. I could always grid pattern that out. I have the paint. I have the machine. So it's just, you know, it's just gonna take away from something else that's going on right now.
Okay. Okay, we could at least get the signs out there and when you have time to stripe it. I just wanna make sure we wanna do this so he doesn't take the striping off.
I think the striping would do the trick, to tell you the truth,
Do ya?
but, well.
But with signs, right? Cause they
Yeah,
tend to
because
ignore the other
striping, I
striping.
mean, it does the trick right at the corner of Mill and 42. You know, with where you're not supposed to, well, basically, it does it there on the.
We had success striping the bike trail near Carroll House last year. That striping I've paid attention to that as the year's gone on. I have not seen a single vehicle park and block the bike lane now since those 3 stripes have been laid in there. So that is probably our best first option is to stripe, see how it does, how it performs, and then, you know, if we need to put more signage out, yeah, then we can proceed that way.
Okay. All right, stripe first and doesn't work, then we put the signs out. Everybody in agreement with that?
Sounds good.
All right.
Okey dokey, next, we don't need to vote on that, do we?
Nope.
Okay, next up is item 6. Excuse me, 6E, Mill Road West tree planting. I asked Julie to put this up here because there's an area after when we paved Mill Road West, there's an area where I think we could plant a couple of trees. And so if you're going, so you're going down Mill Road, and this is the area where, if you remember, there used to be grass.
You can use this map.
And everybody-
Got a Mill Road West.
Okay, yeah, you guys
map
can use
that
it
you
actually.
should, Point to.
Do I have it? I still have it. When you look at that map, it's on Mill Road and it's immediately, well, right now it's stone, so as you're driving
In that
down
section
Mill.
between the big parking lot and the little parking lot across Mill Road. So this is the single stall parking lot along Waterfront,
Yeah, it's
Mill
right,
Road, big parking lot, and there's that gravel strip
well, there's,
in between.
right, there's a gravel, it's actually large stones and a
Okay,
curve
okay.
now
You're
that's there.
talking about here, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's large stones and a curb that's there now. That used to just be grass and people parked all over it and all that stuff. So it'd be great if we could put a couple of trees there. And so,
So there's a lot of utility stuff running through there.
right, so Julie had said it's too bad we didn't do this before the construction. And we didn't do it before the construction. We didn't think about it, or maybe there's too many utilities, but if we could look to see if there are utilities, or because there's no, it's just all concrete and stone and concrete, and there's no shade, there's no,
So I'm remembering, that's when the power ran, and there's some power boxes there.
well, there's power box, there've always been power boxes there, yeah.
Right, but I
Right
think
by the
that's where
driveway.
that's where they ran it underground, and I'm not an expert, but was it safe to plant a deep-rooted long tree over the top of that?
I don't know, we'd have to ask somebody.
So I will ask Robert E. Lee, because I'm sure they looked at that when they were designing the road.
Okay. So if we could think about that and add, you know, a little bit of shade to that area. Cause there really isn't, there isn't any. That would be great. You know, I think we could look at, hopefully maybe I can look at trying to see if we can get somebody to donate the tree.
Well,
or
let's see if we can
trees,
do it
But
first.
see if we can do it, right? May not be able to do it. So that would be,
Louise, what about this grass spot here?
Are you talking about, hold on, I can't see that far, and I have to stay here because my,
Sure.
This guy's running out of power.
So between Harbor Ware and the big parking lot on the south side,
oh, right there.
there's this big grass spot here that's open that,
Yeah, there's a tree right here, and then this
But that's
grassy spot,
open, and there's oftentimes people with four-wheel drive vehicles that like to park there.
no, every day.
If a tree was there, they,
Yeah, every day somebody parks there, so sure, we could do that, and that,
well,
I'd like to do both,
I
yeah.
don't think the utilities ran through there, but
Yeah.
we could look at both.
Well, we can see what's, yeah, that would be great. So Julie, do you know where he's talking? It's right next to, the parking lot for the confectionery and the t-shirt shop.
This is Ellie. If that happens, can we wait till after Fall Fest this year?
Yeah, it won't happen till after that, don't worry.
Okay, perfect, because we have a stall there for arts and
There, I
crafts.
know. You got two booths there, I think, yeah, I know, okay. That's true, I thought about that. Yeah, because you're losing booths over there now, aren't you? Yeah,
Yeah, we've lost a few already, and we can, as long as we know what's happening for next year, we can plan our, accordingly, but I think it's the booths there have already been sold this year, so.
okay, yeah, it wouldn't happen, okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so if we can see if about those utilities and then what would work over there for a tree. 6F, marina parking and possible related code amendments.
So, I won't go into the detail because I know everybody read it, but, what do you want to do with do you want to recommend these code changes to the board?
Yes, but. Page 31. Number 2. No persons shall camp or reside in any type of motor vehicle or trailer in any parking lot identified in section whatever. Motor vehicle, just clarifying, includes a sedan. Because 2 weeks ago, Bobby Lang found somebody parking in his sedan in the marina parking lot when he was camping there for 2.5 days.
Yeah,
Well,
the
isn't that
marina
considered
should
a-
have
I just want to
allowed
make
it.
sure that it's.
Well, that's
Yeah.
considered a motor vehicle, isn't it? Or,
Yeah, definitely.
okay, you could, I guess, say that specifically.
So I'm wondering why was the marina made aware of it? I don't know, this is the first I heard of it.
Bobby, I wasn't even open yet, and he came in the back door, and he's like, who should I call? And I told him, I don't think he ended up calling. For whatever reason, he should have, but, I just.
So I had a couple questions here. I think that the long-term parking lot option for trailers for residents was really nice. There's a lot of people that have taken advantage of it. And the way I read the packet, we would eliminate that. And then allow long-term parking in the paved lot between Scandia and behind Ecology Sports, rather than just the temporary trailer parking
So, no, you would still have your temporary and you'd have your long-term.
in that
Basically,
same lot.
all in the same lot.
I don't think
like
that'll
we
work.
did.
I don't think that'll work.
That's what the Marina Committee suggested.
You don't think there's enough room?
I mean, on the holiday, actually, this last week, that lot was full. Now, it could be, there's car parks, I don't know who the cars are that park
It
in
could be
there.
unpermitted or people that aren't supposed to be parking there parking.
All I'm saying is that that lot is full with transient boaters that are trailing their boats here. Whether legal or not, they're going in the Sister Bay Marina. It's fishermen, it's sports boaters, that lot is full. I don't know, it's been a while since I kept a boat or trailer in the long-term parking, which long-term meant you leave it there most of the summer. Cause your
Yeah.
boat's in the water at the marina typically or
You're talking
something,
about the one that's backed by the community garden,
which
right?
they want to eliminate, right?
Mhm.
And my only point was, I get that we might have to move it. But it might be nice if we let them put them at Logger Quest or someplace else and keep them out of the paid parking, cause that is full.
Well, the Marina Committee looked at it and my understanding was, the feeling was, we barely have boaters truly using that long-term. I know when I've been there, there's not been many boats ever in the long-term parking.
There's probably 10, 12 maybe.
Mm.
Maybe there's less now, but
Yeah.
that's typically, sometimes there was as many as 20.
And they felt that he could get them at the marina. He felt that that was fair. Something he could police better.
Was this the committee, the new committee?
So they made those decisions and then but to make that happen, of course, we have to amend the code and that comes through this committee. So. Your decision, I guess, is you agree with terminating the current long-term parking at the sports complex. According to the marina manager, it's not working. His committee supported getting rid of it. Keeping in mind, there's some reserved if they ever need it. That area, as you know, is also close to where we want, the lateral to come through and sledge, not sledge dryer. but
Dryer
that
building,
in-
The dryer,
yeah.
right?
And then he will have the long term between Sunset and Scandia with certain stalls designated for the vendor parking and certain for the public. So do we agree with that? And if we do, then, we need to forward.
I'll make a motion to be forward to the village board.
Are we losing the amount of long-term parking at the lot up between Sunset and Scandia? Are we losing the number of spaces? Or is it gonna be the same amount?
Long term?
Well, if people move their trailers from long-term trailer parking to that lot,
Yeah,
which has already been full.
right,
The cars, I'm guessing, are mostly for our vendors, the Noradora and all
yeah.
the jet skis and all that stuff. We will have a capacity issue.
But the thing is, I think
They
that.
have to have a permit.
Exactly, they have to have a permit, and I think that Dave's point was that the people that are parked over in the long-term area.
Or not.
But do you get the permit when you put your trailer in?
Yeah. What do you mean?
And you get a long-term permit, right? I mean. If the boats are there, maybe people aren't getting permits the way they're supposed to, but if they do, I think we're gonna have an issue with
I think
space.
Dave's point was that people that are at the over the long term are not
They're
getting
not using the
permits,
marina.
and they're not using the marina. They're just putting their stuff over there.
We've become a free commercial storage facility.
Well,
So thus, the impact that it would have on this parking lot would be minimal.
and how did we validate that?
Dave ran the plates, I think.
Dave would go up there and he would count them and he'd run the plates. I don't know if he gave tickets, I don't know about
I don't
that,
think
but
he gave
he kept
tickets.
track of it. to see
Because
what
there's
was
also
there.
snowmobile trailers over there.
I think there's a camper there and there was a lot of.
I
At
don't know,
least what they said,
I've
was
seen
there
a
was a
camper,
bunch
that
of
might be,
stuff.
but
I think he
anyway.
said there was some stuff actually from Brussels or Gardner, which is. at
But he
the
came
southern-
from Dave.
Okay.
He's the one that initiated the conversation, and Kevin is on,
Yeah.
I wasn't at this committee at the Marina Committee meeting, and not that I wouldn't have necessarily agreed. But, and Kevin, who's a, as you know, in the Marina, agreed.
Okay,
So Denise, your motion was for items 1, 2, and 3 to be forwarded? Or was there more than?
What's ever in the packet to forward to the board. The changes that.
Terminate
Julie
the
made.
long-term parking, designate the parking as described, and then forward the code changes to the board.
Second.
So hold on a second. So
When we
that
terminate
the
long-term
village board
parking, I would let
terminate
those
the
people know
long-term
that because we
parking.
Terminated, they have to.
Sorry, I can't hear two people talking. What do you know?
Okay, that the village board terminate the existing long-term marina parking.
Well, it's the items as listed in the packet.
Right, yeah. We don't have to list
Items
everything.
1, 2, and 3
Okay,
in the packet.
well, the board isn't gonna know what that is. They're not gonna see your packet.
I know, but they're gonna see the wording.
So your revisions then, so, but Julie said 3 things.
Yeah, but we
Is
didn't,
it-
we didn't revise anything.
It's
But
the
motion was
revisions
not
to section
revise
50, 061 and 0603.
Perfect.
Leave it at that.
Yeah.
And don't say anything about terminate the long-term parking.
I didn't hear what you said, but I would just say motion by or second by to forward staff's recommendations to the board for.
Okay,
can I just ask, so we're gonna eliminate that long-term parking. If you have a trailer and your boat's at the marina for the season or into your front dock and you live in Sister Bay for the season, you can come to Dave and get a permit and you'll have to park on the paved lot.
Or pay to store your trailer if it's there.
Well, no, but it's been free. I mean, we've been offering that service to
That's-
people for years.
No, that, it wasn't supposed to be.
Well, the permit, you pay for the permit. But I mean, I'm just saying,
So you paid for the permit, right?
right, how much is the permit? It's not very much. It's a lot cheaper than any storage, and you put the sticker on your trailer.
So the long term, so we do have the code did specify how long you could stay even in the long-term parking lot. And people offhand, I think that was one that was 48 hours.
No, long-term was longer than that.
But it wasn't unlimited.
You
like the
could
way-
move it though, so they could cut the grass and then you could bring it back. That was allowed. Cause I checked.
But we don't want that anymore.
Well, but, okay, we don't want it anymore.
Well,
But
we have-
how do we communicate with the people who are leveraging that? I just wanna make sure,
That's up to the Marina Committee, but I would think
oh,
they would.
that's true.
I would think they would send them a letter.
Okay, I mean, if
I
it's
would
the
think
marina,
they would-
but then why are we?
Because it's on park
Parks.
property. I asked that question, how do we let them know? Dave knows who they are, he must, because he knows that they aren't residents here,
Well, he ran all
and
the
he ran the
plates.
plates. So there must be a way to communicate with them and tell them, look, this is being terminated.
The other reason why it comes to Parks, Mike, is because Parks Committee is in charge of that chapter of the code.
It just seems like we're dying the death of 1,000 cuts here, taking away things from people in the community. And maybe I'm wrong completely here, but that's what it feels like.
And to me, in this case, is because the Marina Committee is designed to be the experts here, that
That's fair.
I'm trusting their.
Yeah, I guess
their
I have to,
judgment and
too.
the
I agree.
info that
It's a
they
good
give
point.
us.
I accept that.
We also have to put infrastructure there, so that's another problem.
I accept that. That's a good point. Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm on, okay. Okay, next is, item.
Well, we had a motion and a second.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, we're rewriting the motion, I think.
Okay, so do you
You
want
got
to
it,
hear
Bob?
what it is?
Sure.
Recommends that the village board approve the revisions to section 580601 and 580603 of the municipal code, excuse me, that were reviewed at this meeting as presented.
Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Opposed? Okay. Item 6G, parking violation fees, this is page 32 and 33.
Okay, personnel committee, as you saw, wanted this here. Current ticket books say the parking fine is 25. Year ago, the board said it should be 55 for the first offense, second for the 75. But personnel wanted it sent to this committee to have that looked at again. This is really critical. We make a decision tonight on this because we are out of parking tickets. The sheriff's department doesn't have them. The post office doesn't have them. We need to order ones with the correct number on, so we need to make a decision and get them ordered. We were gonna just order them with the 55 and the 75 on.
So I get that we need the tickets, but how do we know when we're giving somebody a second ticket?
Because you have copies of
There's a
what you've
record.
already given them,
And we check that before we give them this,
if we're giving them the ticket, yeah.
okay,
We have copies of all the tickets.
okay,
in the
so
ticket
we
book.
know the license plate number, we run it.
Yep.
And we know we're giving them a second ticket.
Yeah, and usually some of them are pretty memorable. It's usually like a big old bus or a camper or something that hasn't moved in 5 days.
What's the regulatory requirement on when you can give them a second ticket?
After 24 hours.
After 24 hours? Okay, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
every day a violation is separate offense, so you have to wait.
Okay.
Unless you seem illegally parking somewhere else that afternoon.
But if there's someplace else. But what does the law say? So can we charge them the 75 the second time or not?
Sure.
Are
That'd
you
be
sure
second-
about that?
Yep,
You checked with the lawyer on that?
it's in our municipal code.
Okay.
Second. All in favor?
So
Opposed?
it's 55 plus costs and 75 plus costs.
For the second offense, yes.
Okay.
Janelle, then tomorrow morning, we need to get these ordered right away.
Yeah, so we'll have to show the bond amount, then not 25, 55. You're gonna have to show 2 counts and, okay.
Okay, item 6A, shuttle bus auction and related policy.
So what did you want to do with this one?
Approve it and move on.
Well, I think, you know, and this is, our beloved bus, but God, I'd love to just give it to somebody, but that we have some sort of a rule where we can't, or can we? Yeah, we can gift it or something, right?
Well,
To a nonprofit.
To a nonprofit, they, just as long as we know, as long as they know the issues with it. Right? But isn't there some sort of a thing where we have to, is there a policy we have to change? That looks like Dave signed off on in 2018, or no? Does it say the
Yeah,
same?
at the last meeting, our committee asked, put the policy on here to see for potential changes.
That's right, because it's fine, yeah.
Cause
Can
it's a
we
waste of time for it to come here, staff should just be able to deal with it.
Can we give it our insurance allow us to give it away to someone?
Yeah, however, there's the aspect, you can't just give it away to somebody because you have to look at due diligence to the taxpayer, right? Why did he get it and not I? Why was he offered it?
Yeah,
and
that
not
part
I?
I get. What I'm worried about is if we give away a bus to a charity and they have a
Oh, I
car
understand.
accident with it, somebody gets killed.
Yeah, no, we would sell it as is. We've done that on other ones. As is, assumes no liability, that type of stuff. With this one, or I'm sorry, with the policy, I do think you should make a recommendation that it no longer have to be sent to the board to determine it was surplus large village personal property and or equipment, sent back to the committee, and then the committee directs staff to be able to sell it. You waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Staff just gets to sell it, take all that out of the policy.
But how is the staff making the decision? How do we make sure there's nothing that goes funky there? That they're selling it to their brother-in-law or something else?
That's a good. Their brother-in-law.
I mean, it happens.
That is a really good question.
That's why most municipalities and universities just say it's gotta go to the auction.
That's what we do.
That's probably the right thing to do.
We sell it to you. That's what we have been doing since I've
Well,
been here.
wasn't the issue though, that the way it's currently written is it can't just go to auction without going through all the committees if it's more than $1,000.
Yeah, you have to go to the board, have it
Right, so
declared.
Mike, what we're saying is that staff can just take it to auction.
Okay,
Am I right? That's what we're
Yes.
saying. So it doesn't have to go to 3 committees before it
Yeah.
goes back to staff and says, yeah, you can take it to auction.
yeah, I just would be worried about somebody getting hurt on one of our bad pieces of equipment or somebody selling it to someone that shouldn't.
Okay, so it's going to auction.
We do watch that, I to make sure. it goes
Yeah,
well.
I'm
So
sure.
what's the specific motion and second that we would be voting on?
Well, say it again, Julie.
Okay,
Said it.
so we're gonna change the policy to eliminate the need for the board to declare it surplus property and without going to committee before it is sent to auction.
Sorry, could you read that again?
I'm
Janelle.
making it up.
Oh,
I'm making it up.
oh,
on the
it
fly.
sounded-
Janelle
it
was
sounded
like-
good.
No, Janelle's very good and Julie, very
I
good
can wait.
at
Okay,
motions.
so. That okay, that the village's excess property, no, you're making this recommendation to the board, right? Cause you don't have the
Sign the
authority to.
policy. It has to go to the board.
Yeah, okay, that the recommendation is made to the village board that the village's excess property policy be revised in such fashion that. There no longer is a need to the village board to declare the bus to be a surplus large village's personal property or equipment. Or make a related referral to the Parks and Streets Committee, which directs staff members to dispose of it. Instead, staff members shall be allowed to see that the bus is taken to auction. Okay,
Instead of saying bus, why don't you say properties or property?
any property,
Items.
okay,
Because it's not always gonna be a bus.
Yeah,
okay,
that's good.
Do we
So
want a
any-
dollar value or?
It says a value of more than $1,000.
Well, right now, it does. But if we're revising it,
Of any value?
I'm asking.
okay, with
You
any
guys have more
about
experience
village
with this than I
property having a value of more than $1,000.
Actually,
That
it
works.
says $1,000 or less and $1,000 or more. Ten parts to it.
So what do you want it to say? $1,000 or more?
Do we have anybody that would be giving away computers or telephones or tools?
You know what, I don't think you have a dollar amount, because either way, you have to jump through all these hoops and go to the
Right.
committee, go to the board.
I would leave the dollar amount out also.
So we'll make the dollar amount.
Okay,
You want this to come back to committee before it goes to the board?
I think so.
so then basically if the board says it's okay, Julie can, and Eric can just see that the bus goes to auction, right? Okay,
The equipment,
okay,
whatever word you gave it.
Well, it says, in the original thing, it said surplus personal property or equipment.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay. We did have a motion, right? We did have okay, so that's the motion,
Second.
okay? Who made the motion?
Oh, I thought
You
somebody
did.
did.
Technically,
I did?
yep. and-
You
Okay,
made the
I made the
motion.
motion.
Denise
You
seconded.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Next up is solar lights at Waterfront Park.
So Denise asked this be put on the agenda. I
Actually,
just
I
want
did,
to let
sorry.
you guys, yeah, I just want to let you guys know, at the board meeting, there's a comment, the lights were too bright, so that night Eric went to the park and he dimmed them. We also had a comment that one of the lights had condensation, so he's just watching that to see if we can seal it or not. So I don't know if there was anything else on that, Louise?
No, it was just, Kurt Harf at the village board meeting said that the lights were very, very bright.
And
And
when
so,
did the light turn down happen?
That night Eric went down.
Well, but which night?
night of the,
Tuesday,
whenever the last board meeting was.
July, whenever the board meeting
Whatever
was.
that third
19,
Tuesday
20,
that
whatever it
was.
was. Okay, now we have the walk around. Do we want to go through, staff reports with, Eric? Any questions on this, on Eric's staff report? or Julie's?
Yes.
Okay.
So update on the dryer impact on the sports complex. I know utilities is yet to be determined if we're meeting next Tuesday. But whenever we do meet, I think it would be important that Megan talk to us about the specific placement of that building. I mean, because when we were here last month and I had drawn a dryer building, kind of plunked it in a space close to the other building, north of the gardens. I think utilities needs to know pretty much exactly where it's going to go, that then I can translate back to this committee.
Okay, yeah, she just, right now they're just saying, well, this is where you could do it, this is the best spot, you could do it here, so. We just wanna make sure you guys are in the loop on all of that, but I'll have her put that on utilities agenda.
Thank
please.
you.
And
And I
I
mean,
know,
if we don't talk about it till next month, that's still okay,
well, we have.
if we don't have a meeting.
We have to go through that rate study RFP. So we'll have to have a meeting. The utilities meeting.
Yeah, but Kara said it wasn't determined yet.
The deadline was Friday. Oh. The meeting date is not set yet, but the RFP deadline was Friday. So
Right,
we
and we
wanna-
got nothing.
We have one.
Okay, excuse me.
My other, just comment on that beach sand is, I asked Dave Elliott about this. And, the sand that is pictured here, actually Bailey's Harbor doesn't own it. That belongs to Dale Williams. And so it's sitting over in Dale's, so Dale's the one that we'd have to work with to move it, and yeah, it's expensive.
Well, and my understanding also was that, if we were to dump a bunch of sand there, it would migrate out in the bay.
Yeah. like
And
we talked
now
before.
we're gonna have to pay to dredge the channel, the sand,
Uh-huh.
and put it back on the beach.
And dredging is, I know Julie, you had mentioned that we don't dredge enough. There's only a certain period of time we can dredge. And the dredging, the time we can dredge according to the DNR is, I think, during season, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Am I
she
wrong?
didn't say that we don't dredge enough, we just don't do it that often.
Yeah, it's not an issue where it's preventing
Right.
safe navigation in the.
In
region,
general,
so it's
because
like
we're
once
a very rocky bay, we don't have the same sand mitigation
Right.
problem.
Right.
that other
That they do
places
in Bailey's
have.
Harbor.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But if we paid to dump a bunch of fine sand on the beach, we might.
Yeah.
She said we don't dredge often enough at our marina, that's all, so. But anyway, and I know that it's, we're limited by when we can and so forth, but. Is it you?
That's me.
Okay, so everybody knows that's sitting in
I
Dale
had,
Williams.
I had
quarry.
a couple of other questions. Is Eric on the phone yet or not?
He's right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, Eric, are those Toro, zero turns?
Yes,
What are they, 15 to 20 grand a pop?
correct, around that price range, depending on options.
17.5, what was in there?
And are they, diesel or gas?
Yes.
How many hours do they have on them when you want to trade them in?
It's not so much predicating off of hours. The 5-year, right now, the My Ride is sitting at almost 900 hours. That's coming up out of its 5-year warranty. At the end of this season, it's probably gonna be closer to 1,000.
I mean, I don't want to get too technical here, but those things are supposed to be able to go to 2,500 hours before an overhaul. I get what you're saying. If you turn them in, you don't have to pay for the major maintenance, but in theory, it shouldn't happen. Do we get more money for them if we trade them in early like that?
Correct. It's a balancing. So you run the risk if you fall out of that warranty period and the rate that we use them, you're taking a gamble. And then you're also getting less when you do decide, say, in another 5 years goes by, so you held on to them for 10, you're just getting that much less in return, and you're also running a risk.
How many do we own? About 5?
We own 3.
So along these lines, Mike, last time we had a lot of questions on this, cause I had similar concerns.
Okay.
And the way it turns out is because of our government group, whatever pricing, we can get such a good deal on a lot of this mechanical equipment. That by the time you turn around and sell it on the secondary market, if it's within the warranty period, you end up getting almost as much as you paid for it back. It's kind of surprising.
No,
But-
well, we're turning them in with low hours.
Yeah.
If we're turning them in at 900 hours. So we should be getting a lot more. Okay,
And the impression Eric gave was that it was close to the cost of a new model.
and then the last one, this, is it Ava Hope Path? Is it-
Ava.
Ava? Is that in the 24 budget? Is that in this year's budget?
Are you talking about the park?
We don't have a plan for that.
Oh, are you talking about the walking tour, not the staff report?
Well, I just, yeah,
Or
the,
those community park on Ava Hope?
Okay.
yeah, I'm
so-
sorry, I thought that was in your staff report. I'm sorry, maybe I got it wrong.
They were on the administrator and.
Okay,
So, yeah, now we'll go back to walking tours. So we have $30,000 plus, I think it's 6,000 for this project at this time. So it would not be, the discussion was it would not be an impact on budget. We would use existing resources.
okay, I had the impression we were buying property and putting in the path. That's not the case.
No, we own the
I
property.
misunderstood. Okay. Okay,
And then we have the potential crossing on Applewood so that the folks at SCAN can get over to the medical center, right?
Right.
And then some concerns about what to do about dangerous intersections.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if it's gonna rain or not, but.
Where
what
are
do
we
wanna do?
driving first? Ava Hope.
Okay, does everybody know where we're going?
Ava Hope and then Scandia and work our way back.
Which corner by April?
Can I be excused? I have to go back to work.
Well, it's not for me to say, Louise does.
Yeah. Ava Hope Court across from Polly and Schutz's house that she put up there.
Oh, the big new one that got moved from.
Yes.
Okay.
where exactly is it?
Ava Hope Court,
Yeah,
it's right across from Polly and Schutz's house, the house she moved out there.
okay, on the north or the south of the house?
It'll be,
So away from the house?
actually, it'll be west of the house.
West of the house, okay, got it.
It's pretty much right across the street.
Okay, and then what's the other spot we're going?
Go to SCAN.
Oh, okay,
I'm just gonna leave this here and then come back, Julie, okay?
Okay.
yes. I'll be there for coffee in the morning. Be open, would you?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Thanks. Lily.
Okay. let's
Have a nice
your
evening.
brain on.
Yeah, I know.
I know, I don't know when that break, and they're always wrong.
They said it's supposed to storm.
Well, I know they did, but then it does, then it does.
Use the Russian, but so hopefully I. Okay.
You're not coming out there with us, Ju, are you, Denise? For-
Yeah, Julie said I should,
You
so
should, okay.
I won't be able to walk out on the thing because I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
I saw, just in case we don't come back.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's gonna pour, but it's been looking shitty all day and then it doesn't rain.
Because we may,
And we could use the rain.
people might also think by the time we're done with the first one or the second one, they might be like, that's enough for now.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Well, the important one is that park, so
Yeah.
trying to get that squared away.